Skoraj sem rekel dober večer. Sem se navadil že. Dobro jutro, dober dan. Evo, lepo, da smo tukaj. Imamo prijavljene ljudi, ki bodo prišli tudi iz Ljubljane in seveda, kakšna je cesta? Gužva je, da. Bomo veseli vsakoga, ki pride. Ukvarjamo se zelo pomembnimi zadevami in to, kar imamo danes, je intenzivni seminar. Ampak boste zmogli, ker so pauze vmes in tudi pauza za kosilo. Tako, veseli smo vsakogar in želimo si, da bi dejansko tudi postali, če rečem zdaj s temi besedami, kanal za ljubezen, ki prihaja, izvira, da sodelujemo v tem, da delimo ljubezen drugod. Gospod ima dovolj ljubezni za nas, da je prišel v Slovenijo. Dr. Sandoval, pozdravljeni in izvolite.
Thank you.
The platform is yours.
All right. Okay, so we have been talking about different aspects of health throughout the week.
Skozi ves teden smo govorili o različnih vidikih zdravja.
And we realized that health is something that involves all of our being.
Ugotovili smo, da na zdravje vpliva vse naše bitje.
And that proper health allows us to have proper function in every aspect of our lives.
Dobro zdravje omogoča naše normalno delovanje v vsakem aspektu življenja.
Right? And that there are many things that impact that health.
Mnoge stvari so, ki vplivajo na zdravje.
Including how we think.
To vključuje tudi način mišljenja.
Right? Including our relationships.
Naše odnose.
Right? And every aspect of our lives.
In vsak vidik življenja.
And not just how we eat and what we drink and so on.
Ni pomembno samo, kaj pijemo, kaj jemo in druge stvari.
And so this morning we're going to be looking at something
Danes se bomo pozabavali z eno posebno stvarjo.
That does not initially look like something that impacts health.
To je nekaj, za kar se ne zdi v začetku, da bo vplivalo na zdravje.
But as we get into it, we'll realize that it has everything to do with health.
Ampak, ko se poglobimo, ugotovimo, da je še kako povezano zdravje.
Right. And so we're looking at identity and value this morning.
Danes torej se ukvarjamo z identiteto in vrednostmi.
Right. And as we begin, I would like to pray.
Preden bomo začeli, jaz bi rad molil.
Dear Lord, I thank you for your blessings.
Hvala ti, Gospod, za tvoje blagoslove.
I thank you that you love us.
Hvala ti, da nas ljubiš.
And I thank you that you are here with us right now.
In da si ravno zdaj z nami tukaj.
And Lord, I ask for you to be our teacher today.
Prosim te, Gospod, bodi naš učitelj.
And to show us the truth that sets us free.
Pokaži nam resnico, ki osvobaja.
And help us to accept that truth that we might be free.
Pomagaj nam, da bi sprejeli to resnico, da bi bili lahko osvobojeni.
And I pray this thanking you for your power and your love.
To te prosim in se zahvaljujem za tvojo moč in ljubezen.
In Jesus' name.
V Jezusovem imenu.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. So, who are you?
Kdo smo?
Right. All right. If somebody was to ask you the question, who are you?
Če bi vam kdo zastavil vprašanje, kdo si ste,
what would you answer?
Kaj bi odgovorili?
Right. I have asked this question a lot in my practice.
Ko sem delal kot zdravnik, sem velikokrat zastavil to vprašanje.
And when I ask a man who he is,
ko sem človeka vprašal, kdo je,
he usually tells me what he does.
On mi je vedno odgovoril z nečem, kar počne.
Right? He'll tell me what his career is.
Povedal mi je, kaj dela.
He might tell me that he's a provider for his family.
Kakšno službo ima in s čim, torej, kako poskrbi za družino.
Or he might tell me about his hobbies and the things that he likes to do.
Ali pa mi je govoril o tem, kar rad počne.
Right?
Konjičke in tako.
When I talk to a woman,
ko sem se pogovarjal z ženo,
and I ask her who she is,
in jo vprašal, kdo je,
she will usually tell me who she's related to.
Navadno mi je rekla, s kom je povezana.
You know, so she's a mother.
Ona je mati.
She's a daughter.
Hči.
Right, and she's a wife, and you know.
Je kako se reče, zakonska partnerica.
Right? So she identifies herself in relation to who she's related to.
Ona o sebi misli v povezavi s tem, s kom je povezana.
Then the second thing that men will usually come up with
Še naprej pri moških, kaj oni rečejo,
is who they're related to.
S kom so v sorodu.
Right? So I'm a husband, I'm a father.
Jaz sem mož, oče.
And women often will have what they do as the second thing, second identity.
Torej, ženske šele tukaj, na drugem mestu, začnejo govoriti o tem, s čim se ukvarjajo.
Right, what their career is, or that they're a caretaker, or something like that.
Ali so skrbnice, s čim služijo kruh in tako.
And I have found that if men don't identify by these top two things,
Jaz sem ugotovil, da če se moški ne identificira s temi dvemi prvimi zadevami,
then they just don't know.
potem you don't know.
No, they don't
Oni
know.
potem ne vedo, kdo so.
Right? And if a woman doesn't identify with the top two,
In če se ženska ne identificira s temi dvemi zadevami,
then she'll usually revert to her qualities.
potem se bo obrnila na svoje kakovosti,
Right.
vrednote.
She's generous, or she's helpful, or
Svoje lastnosti, ja. Ona je dobrodušna, ona je dobra.
right. And so this is how we often tend to identify ourselves.
No, to je način, kako se identificiramo sami.
Now, do your actions define your identity,
Ali vaša dejanja določajo, kdo ste?
or does your identity determine what you do?
Ali je narobe? Vaša istovetnost določa, kaj počnete.
Now, in English, there's anyways, this works, I'm not sure in your language, but anyways, are you a human doing or are you a human being?
Da, človeško bitje ali v angleščini je to zanimivo, pri nas je tudi. Ali ste človeško bitje ali ste človeško početje.
Right? Are you a being first and then you do?
Ali ste najprej bitje, odbiti,
Or are you doing first and then you
in
be?
potem delate, ali pa najprej ste to, kar najprej delate, potem ste to.
Right? So, I find that often we're confused,
Pogosto smo zmedeni,
right?
sem
And
ugotovil.
we find our identity based upon what we do,
Temeljimo svojo istovetnost na tem, kar počnemo.
right? But if you identify yourself by what you do,
Ampak če to delaš, se identificiraš s tem, kar počneš,
what happens when you can no longer do that?
kaj se zgodi, ko nisi več zmožen opravljati tega, kar si počel?
Right? So if you identify yourself by the career or the profession that you have,
Če istovetnost svojo povezuješ s tem, kar delaš profesionalno,
what if you have an accident
kaj če se zgodi nesreča
and you can no longer do that work?
in več ne moreš opravljati tega dela?
Then who are you?
Kaj si potem?
Right? And if you identify yourself by the relationships that you have,
Če pa se poistovetiš s temi z ljudmi, s katerimi si povezan,
what if they all die
kaj se zgodi, če vsi pomrejo
and you have none of those relationships?
in več nimaš nikogar od teh?
Who are you now?
Kdo si zdaj?
Right? And if you identify yourself by the fact that you're helpful,
In če se istovetiš s tem, da si po lastnostih koristen,
what happens if you are paralyzed
kaj če ostaneš paraliziran
and you can no longer help anyone?
in ne moreš nikomur več pomagati?
Right? Then who are you now?
Kdo si potem?
Right? So if your identity is based upon anything from yourself,
Če je tvoja identiteta povezana s čimerkoli, kar je tvojega,
then it can be threatened.
to lahko doživi napad ali
Right.
grožnjo.
And there is an uncertainty that comes in those things that can be threatened.
In negotovost je povezana s stvarmi, ki jim lahko grozi kaj.
Right? And so what we want is we want an identity that's based upon something that cannot change.
Torej, bi si želeli nekaj za identiteto, kar je utemeljeno na stvareh, ki so stalne, ki se ne spreminjajo.
Right? Something that cannot be threatened.
Nekaj, kar ne more biti ogroženo.
Right? I have met a lot of patients who are suffering with a life-threatening disease.
Srečal sem mnoge paciente, ki jim je grozila smrt, v bistvu, takšno bolezen so imeli.
And not only do they have the burden of having the disease,
Niso nosili samo bremena svoje bolezni,
but they have the burden of the fact that the disease is threatening who they are.
ampak so trpeli za tem, da ta bolezen pravzaprav ogroža njihovo bistvo.
And so now they have a double burden,
Imeli so dvojno breme zdaj.
right? And it can be very, very difficult,
To je zelo težko lahko.
right? And so often I would ask them, okay, well, what happens if they identify themselves as what they do?
Če se torej identificirajo s tem, kar počnejo, jaz sem jih pogosto vprašal,
Then who are you if you cannot do that?
kaj ste, če tega ne morete več upravljati.
If you're finally paralyzed,
Ko končate odvzeti,
you can't move anything,
ne morete premikati česar, nobenega dela telesa,
but you can still think,
še vedno pa mislite,
cannot even talk,
ne morete niti govoriti,
right? You can't really do anything. Everybody else has to care for you.
ne morete sami ničesar, drugi morajo skrbeti za vas.
Who are you?
Kdo ste?
Right. Because you are still you,
Ker ste vi, še vedno ste vi.
regardless of if you cannot do anything.
Ne glede na to, da ne morete ničesar.
And so really, who are you?
Torej, res, kdo ste?
And some people think, well, my value comes by what I can do.
Mnogi ljudje mislijo, moja vrednost je v tem, kar lahko naredim.
And so now I can only, if I cannot do anything, then I have no more value.
Torej, če ne morem ničesar početi, nimam nobene vrednosti več.
Now, is it a blessing to be able to help others?
Ali je blagoslov, če lahko pomagate drugim?
Yes.
Je,
Yeah, sure. Right.
seveda.
Now, if there is no one to help,
Če ni nikogar, ki bi lahko pomagal,
then how can you have that blessing?
kako potem imate takšen blagoslov?
Right. So the blessing both needs someone that can help,
Pravzaprav narobe. Če ni nikogar, ki bi mu vi lahko pomagali, kako lahko računate, da je to sorry, I needed to retract my...
Aha.
Kako je možno, da rečete, da... say it again.
the blessing needs both somebody that can help
Ja, blagoslov zahteva nekoga, ki lahko pomaga
and somebody that needs help,
in nekoga, ki pomoč potrebuje.
right? And so if you didn't have somebody that needed help,
Če nimate nikogar, ki potrebuje pomoč,
then there's the loss of that blessing of helping.
potem izgubite blagoslov pomaganja.
So the one who is doing things to help another,
Če kdo dela kaj, da bi pomagal drugemu,
they have a purpose,
ima namero, namen,
and the one who is being helped
in tisti, ki dobi pomoč,
similarly has a purpose,
podobno ima smisel.
right? And both have value,
Oba imata vrednost.
right? But often we only see it from the one side,
Ampak pogosto stvari gledamo samo iz enega kota.
where I only have value if I'm the one that's helping.
Jaz imam vrednost samo, če lahko pomagam.
Now, when it comes to identity,
Ko gre za identiteto,
is it what is made that defines what it is?
ali je tisto, kar je narejeno, določa to identiteta?
Or is it the one that makes it that defines what it is?
Oziroma, kaj je? Ali pa je tisti, ki je naredil to stvar, določil njeno vrednost?
Right? Does the clay decide what it is?
Ali glina določa, kaj je sama?
Or does the potter define what it is?
Ali pa lončar določa vrednost predmeta? Ne
Right.
vrednost, kaj predmet je.
So our identity is not defined by ourselves,
Torej, ne more naša identiteta biti naša definicija,
right? Our identity is defined by our originator,
ampak jo najdemo v njemu, ki nas je ustvaril.
right? And as we've looked at before,
Kakor smo že povedali,
we all need love,
vsi potrebujemo ljubezen.
right? And we need water and we need food and
Potrebujemo vodo in hrano.
everything that we need
In vse, kar potrebujemo,
must be supplied from outside of us,
moramo dobiti od zunaj.
must be brought inside of us in order for
Moramo
us to live.
to vzeti vase, da bi preživeli.
Right? And it's by our own action that we bring it in,
In to moramo narediti sami,
right? So that we can live.
da bi lahko živeli.
And as we saw before,
Kakor smo že videli,
everything that you need,
vse, kar potrebujete,
you cannot go to someone else that has the same need
morate dobiti od nekoga, ki nima takšnih potreb, kakršne imate vi.
to obtain that.
Ja, I did it.
Yes. And and so we need something else than our own kind to supply what we need.
Torej, potrebujemo nekoga drugega, ne svojo vrsto, da bi zadovoljili svoje potrebe.
If you're hungry, you don't go eat another person.
Če ste lačni, ne greste pojesti drugo osebo.
If you're thirsty, you don't go drink another person,
Ne boste popili druge osebe, če ste žejni.
right? If you're suffocating, you don't breathe another person.
Če se dušite, ne boste vzeli zrak od druge osebe.
And if you're lacking love,
In če vam primanjkuje ljubezni,
you don't go get that from another person.
ne boste šli jo iskati
Right?
pri drugi osebi.
But there must be a source for the love that we need,
Ampak mora obstajati vir ljubezni, ki jo potrebujemo.
and the source must be exactly what we need,
In ta vir mora biti prav to, kar potrebujemo.
right? And we need a love that is constant.
Rekli smo, da potrebujemo ljubezen, ki je trajna,
We need a love that's personal.
ki je osebna,
We need a love that is unselfish.
potrebujemo nesebično ljubezen,
We need a love that is completely full.
tisto, ki je popolna,
And you and I have never found that in another person.
in tega nikoli ne moremo dobiti v drugi osebi.
But every one of us need it,
Ampak vsak od nas to prav potrebuje.
right? And so there must be the source,
Torej mora obstajati vir,
because we're all still alive,
ker smo vsi še vedno živi.
right? So there has to be a source for what we need.
Mora biti vir tega, kar potrebujemo za življenje.
And the need must be everything that we need. I mean, the source must be everything that we need,
Vir mora biti vse, kar potrebujemo mi.
exactly as we need it
Prav tako, kot potrebujemo.
and when we need it,
In kadar potrebujemo.
which is all the time,
In to je ves čas.
right? And I call that source God,
Temu viru jaz rečem Bog.
right? And God is the one who is the one that defines who we are.
Torej, Bog določa, kdo smo.
And He has made us as His children,
On nas je ustvaril kot svoje otroke.
right? And so as His child,
Kot njegov otrok,
well, He's never going to die.
on ne bo nikoli umrl,
He's never going to reject you.
ne bo vas nikoli zavrnil,
You are always His,
vedno ste njegovi.
right? And that is an identity that can never be threatened.
To je identiteta, ki na noben način ne more biti ogrožena.
Whether you can do something or not do something,
Če nekaj naredite ali ne naredite,
you are a child of God.
ste Božji otrok.
Whether you can, whether you have certain qualities or not,
Če imate določene lastnosti ali ne,
you are a child of God.
ste Božji otrok.
Whether the relationships around you, whether they're alive or not,
Če so ljudje okoli vas živi ali mrtvi,
you are a child of God.
vi ste Božji otrok.
And nothing can threaten that.
In tega ne more nič ogroziti.
And so that's an identity that we can hold on to,
To je identiteta, ki se je lahko držimo.
that regardless of what's happening to us,
Da ne glede na to, kar se z nami in okoli nas dogaja,
can never be threatened.
ne more biti ogrožena.
And that provides a stability in our lives.
To našemu življenju daje stanovitnost ali stabilnost.
Because the other identities can be threatened.
Ker druge identitete lahko kaj ogrozi.
Now, you have a family tree,
Imate družinsko deblo.
right? And so we can ask the question, who is your father?
Lahko zastavimo vprašanje, kdo je vaš oče?
And then, of course, we can ask the question is, who is your father's father?
Kdo je njegov oče? Lahko zastavimo vprašanje tudi.
And who's your father's father's father?
In spet, kdo je od tvojega dedka oče?
And so on,
In tako naprej.
right? And it's really neat. Now, sometimes there are some very boring things in the Bible.
Nekatere stvari v Svetem pismu se zdijo ljudem zelo dolgočasne.
And I find that one of the boring things is the genealogies.
In meni se zdi kot ena najbolj dolgočasnih stvari v Svetem pismu, da so rodopisi.
This person was born to this person, who was born to this
Ta
person.
človek je dobil tega sina in on je dobil tega sina in tako naprej.
But one of those genealogies is really interesting
Ampak en od teh rodopisov je zelo zanimiv.
because it tells us that this person was born to this person,
Ampak ker nam pravi, da je ta bil rojen od tega,
who is the son of this
ki
person,
je bil sin nekoga drugega.
and it carries that genealogy all the way back.
In rodopis gre nazaj po rodovih
And it says that this person was the son of Adam,
in pravi, ta je bil sin Adama,
which was the son of God.
ki je bil Božji sin.
Right? And so it's very encouraging because it tells us that we don't come from an accident,
To je zelo spodbudno, ker nam dopoveduje, da nismo po naključju tukaj.
we are on purpose.
Mi smo z namenom.
Right? It's not that our lives are meaningless,
Ni naše življenje brez pomena,
they are meaningful.
ampak je prav bogato s pomenom.
And there is great purpose in the lives that we live.
In obstaja dober razlog za življenje.
And we are not lost in space,
Nismo izgubljeni v vesolju,
but the God who created all is intentionally and personally involved in our lives.
ampak Bog, ki je ustvaril vse, je osebno in z namenom vključen v naše življenje.
Right? And we're also told that God said, let us make man in our image after our own likeness.
V Svetem pismu beremo, da je Bog rekel, naredimo človeka po svoji podobi, po svoji sličnosti.
And so we resemble him,
Tako smo podobni njemu.
right? The likeness of God is found in us.
V nas se vidi Božja podoba.
Not that we are God,
Ne, da smo Bog,
but we were created in his image.
ampak smo ustvarjeni po njegovi podobi.
And it's a remarkable image,
To je prav posebna podoba.
right? And so
Lahko bi rekli markantna, tudi. Vidna.
So we are royalty,
Mi smo kraljevskega rodu.
right? We are precious children of the Creator God.
Smo dragoceni otroci Boga, ki je stvarnik.
Each individual is unique,
Vsak od nas je edinstven.
right? No one has the same personality, nobody has the same individuality.
Nihče nima osebnosti ali lastnosti drugega. Vsak je poseben.
And nobody could ever replace you,
In nihče vas ne more nadomestiti.
right? So understanding this,
Če to razumemo,
we can recognize that we are of value.
ugotavljamo, da imamo vrednost.
But the question is, how valuable are we,
Vprašanje je pa, kakšno vrednost imamo.
right? How valuable are you?
Kakšna je vaša vrednost?
Now, it was back, I think, in the 1980s,
Mislim, da je šlo za 1800 leta.
and there was a chemistry professor,
Nek profesor kemije
and he wanted to calculate the value of a human being.
je želel vedeti, koliko stane človeško bitje.
And so he calculated the various different amounts of different elements
Pogledal je, kakšne prvine, kemične prvine sestavljajo človeka.
that are found in the human.
Ja.
You know, how much carbon and how much
Koliko ogljika je,
nitrogen, and
koliko je
how much
kisika
oxygen, and so on.
in dušika in vsega.
And then he calculated how much that would have cost to buy that amount of those different chemicals.
In potem je pogledal, koliko stanejo te snovi na trgu.
You know, and back in that day, a human being would have been worth less than about $2 or €2.
V tem času je vrednost človeka, če se izračuna tako, bila manjša kot $2.
Yeah, so, you know, wonderful.
No, a res.
I'm worth less than €2, you know.
Da, sem manj kot $2 vreden.
Right.
Evra.
But what makes something worth what it's worth?
Kaj daje vrednost komurkoli?
Is it what it's made of?
Ali sestavine?
Right, here's a picture.
Evo, tu je neka slika.
It's printed on paper.
Je na papirju recimo tiskana.
It's not the most beautiful picture,
To ni najlepša slika.
right? Is it of value because of the paper that it's made from?
Ali ima vrednost zaradi papirja, na katerem je narejena,
or the ink that's there,
ali črnilo, barve, ki so
right?
gor na papirju.
I mean, how much would you pay for that picture?
Koliko bi plačali za to sliko? Less than 2 euros.
Well, it's a baseball card.
To je neka karta igralcev bejzbola.
And in the United States, baseball cards are a big thing.
V Združenih državah imamo to za vredno stvar.
And this happens to be the Honus Wagner 1912 baseball card.
To je iz, kaj je že?
Yeah, Honus.
Zelo pomembna karta, ki menda jih.
Right. Yeah. Anyways, and the most recent and best copy of it
Torej ena sveža in najboljša kopija te slike
sold for $5.5 million.
so prodali za 5,5 milijonov dolarjev.
Right. Anybody here pay $5.5 million for
Kdo bi od
that?
vas plačal za to sliko 5,5 milijonov?
Yeah. Well, it's not that valuable to me,
Meni nima te vrednosti slika.
and I don't have $5.5 million to pay for it anyways.
Itak nimam 5,5 milijona, da bi plačal za njo.
Now, is its value based upon what it can do?
Ali je vrednost predmeta vezana na to, kar upravi?
Right. Here's a vase.
Tu je vaza.
It can hold dirt.
Lahko je v njej zemlja
It can hold flowers,
ali roža,
water,
voda,
marbles.
frnikole.
You can stick it on a shelf and keep the books from falling over.
Da postavite jo na polico, da bi držala knjige, da ne padejo.
Right? I mean, yeah, it can do some stuff.
Nekaj stvari lahko, za nekaj služi lahko.
How much would you pay for the vase?
Koliko bi plačali za to vazo? It is porcelain.
Yeah, it's porcelain, that's true.
Res je, da je porcelan,
It's not just glass.
ni samo steklo,
It does have some paintings on it,
je tudi poslikana.
right? Well, this comes from China,
Ta je iz Kitajskega
and it doesn't have a label made in China,
in ne piše gor Made in China,
right?
proizvedeno na Kitajskem.
Right. This is Ming Dynasty.
To je iz dinastije Ming.
And
Iz časa.
this sold for $3.5 million.
To so prodali za 3,5 milijona dolarjev.
Right. So what makes something worth of what it's worth?
Kaj daje vrednost čemu?
Well, the answer ultimately is how much the highest bidder is willing to pay for it.
Odgovor je v tem, koliko je pripravljen kupec dati za njo.
Right. You might think something is worth this amount,
Morda se vam zdi, da nek predmet ima določeno vsoto denarja je vreden
right? And you might be willing to pay 20 euros for the vase.
in morda bi za vazo dali 20 evrov.
Somebody else looks at it and they know I would only pay 10 euros.
Nekdo drug pogleda pravi, ne, 10 je vredna.
Right? Somebody else might look at it and say, I don't need a vase.
Nekdo bi rekel, ne rabim vaze.
And somebody says, oh, I'll pay $3.5 million for that.
Nekdo pa reče, 3 milijona pa pol dam.
Right? So when you finally, whoever is willing to pay the most,
Kdorkoli je pripravljen plačati največ,
you find the value.
dobite torej, vrednost tega predmeta.
So how much are you worth?
Torej, koliko ste vredni vi?
Right? How much would your spouse pay for you?
Koliko bi plačal vaš zakonski partner?
Or would they
Za
pay
vas.
to get rid of you?
Ali bi plačali, da se vas ne bijo? Some do.
Yes. Some pay the lawyer to get rid of the spouse.
Plačajo mafijašem, da se ne bijo zakonskega
Right.
para. No? Children say right when they can that mommy is the best and the beautiful and the
Oh,
most
yes,
valuable thing.
yes, absolutely.
Absolutno.
Yes, oftentimes little ones will give everything for mommy,
Yes. Malčki bi dali vse za mamo.
right? They don't have much,
Nimajo dosti,
but they'll be willing to give it all for mommy,
ampak vse, kar imajo, bi dali za mamo.
right? Because mommy is very high on their scale.
Zato, ker je mama zelo visoko na njihovi lestvici.
Now, when they're 18 years old,
Ko napolni 18 let,
mommy has a different value,
ima mama drugačno vrednost.
right? You teach the little ones,
Vi lahko poučite male,
and mommy is very valuable.
da je mama zelo vredna.
And you teach the teenagers,
Ko najstnika učiš,
and mommy has little value,
se je vrednost zmanjšala.
right? But your value never changes in God's eyes.
V Božjih očeh vaša vrednost ni nikoli manjša.
Now, we live on this planet,
Na tem planetu živimo
and it's big.
in ta je velik.
It's about 40,000 kilometers around the circumference.
Približno 40,000 kilometrov je okoli ekvatorja.
And if you were driving, you can't, but if you were driving on a straight line around the equator,
Če bi,
if you're driving,
če bi se vozili okoli ekvatorja, ni možno, ampak če bi obstajala možnost,
and you were driving at 100 kilometers per hour,
in če bi se z avtom peljali 100 km/h,
it would take you 16 and a half days to go around the earth
bi potrebovali 16 dni in pol, da bi obkrožili Zemljo.
without stops,
Brez kakršnega koli postanka.
100 kilometers an hour.
100 km/h vsak čas.
And the earth has a weight of 9.6 octillion kilograms.
Torej, teža sveta je 9,6 trilijonov, da, evo, zdaj bom napisal, koliko jih je.
What did I say, 9.8?
6.
9.6. All right. So that's 1,000, million,
Milijarda,
billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, sextillion, septillion, octillion.
you said none, you said none.
Oh, octillion.
Na 8 je bilo. Trilijonov, oktolionov.
Yeah.
Pri nas je malo drugače, mislim, da je v velikih številkah je, ampak milijarda in biljon se razlikuje. Mi imamo biljon na 3. mestu.
Right. So it's pretty heavy,
To je zelo velika teža.
right? And if you were able
To je v
to,
kilogramih.
right, yeah, kilograms. If you were able to lift 100 kilograms every second,
Če bi lahko vsako sekundo dvignili 100 kilogramov,
it would take you 4 quadrillion years
bi potrebovali 4 kvadrilijone let,
in order to lift that much weight.
da bi toliko ekvivalentno težo dvignili.
And while the Earth is very big,
In čeprav je Zemlja zelo velika,
compared to some of the other planets,
je v primerjavi z nekaterimi drugimi planeti
well, it's not so big,
ne tako velika.
right? And poor old Pluto.
To je Pluton je majhen.
And poor thing's not a planet anymore.
In zdaj mu ne priznavajo statusa planeta.
When I went to school, Pluto was a planet.
Ko sem hodil v šolo, je Pluton bil.
Now it's not a planet.
Da. Zdaj pa ni več.
Right? And our sun
Naše Sonce
is considered to be a medium-sized star,
imajo za zvezdo srednje velikosti.
and it's 150 million kilometers from us.
Oddaljen je 160,
150.
150 milijonov let. Kilometrov.
Right? And at the speed of light,
In v hitrosti svetlobe,
it takes about close to 8.5 minutes for light to get from the sun to the earth.
skoraj 8 minut pa pol potrebuje svetloba v svetlobni hitrosti, da pride do nas.
And on its surface, the sun is 5,500 degrees Celsius.
In na površju ima 5500 stopinj Celzija, je vroče.
And
Vroče.
do you have golf here?
Yes.
Okay. So if the earth was the size of a golf ball,
Če bi bila Zemlja velikosti žogice za golf,
then the sun would be 4.5 meters across.
bi Sonce bilo premera 4 metre pa pol. Ja.
Right? You could put 960,000 Earths inside of the sun.
960 tisoč bi jih dali v Sonce.
Right? That would be enough Well, yeah, that's a lot.
To je veliko.
And when we compare our Earth to the size of other planets,
Ko primerjamo velikost našega planeta z drugimi,
we see that it's bigger than 2 or 3 of them,
ugotovimo, da je večji od enih treh.
right? But when we compare it to some of the other planets,
Ko jih primerjamo z drugimi planeti v našem Sončju,
pretty small.
je prav majhna.
In fact, you can fit 2 Earths inside of this hurricane on Jupiter.
Vi lahko daste dve zemlji v ta uragan, ki je tukaj na Jupitru.
Right? But while Jupiter is very big,
Čeprav je Jupiter zelo velik,
well, it's pretty small.
je v primerjavi
Here's our sun,
z našim Soncem majhen.
and here you see Sirius, another star,
To je druga zvezda, Sirius, in pogledajte, kakšna je.
right? And Sirius is big,
Sirius je velika zvezda,
but Sirius is small
ampak je tudi majhna.
because you see Sirius compared to Aldebaran,
In v primerjavi z Aldebarnom je taka.
and Aldebaran is huge,
Ta je ogromen, Aldebarn.
but Aldebaran is very small
Ampak je tudi zelo majhen.
because you see Aldebaran next to Betelgeuse.
Ko primerjate z Betelgezo.
Now, Betelgeuse is in the Orion constellation,
Betelgeza je zvezda v ozvezdju Orion.
and it makes up Orion's shoulder,
In je pravzaprav Orionova rama.
and it's huge,
Je ogromna.
right? It's so big,
Tako velika je,
and it's far away. It's 427 light years away, 472 česa? at 427 light years.
Svetlobnih let.
Yeah.
Daleč.
And Betelgeuse is so big
Betelgeza je tako velika,
that you could take the Earth's orbit around the sun
da lahko vzamete orbito, torej Zemljo okoli Sonca,
and you could put it next to the Earth's orbit around the sun,
in še enkrat to ponovite,
and both would fit inside of Betelgeuse.
in vse to bi bilo še znotraj Betelgeze.
Right? If Earth were the size of a golf ball,
Če bi Zemlja bila velikosti žogice za golf,
Betelgeuse would be the Empire State Building,
bi Betelgeza bila primera te velike stavbe, Empire State Building.
right? And this one is 612. I mean, that one on top of itself,
Dvakrat bi morali postaviti to,
6 times,
6krat.
so 612 stories tall.
620 ali 12 nadstropje bi imeli.
And there's Betelgeuse,
To je Betelgeza zdaj.
right? And you see that there's larger stars.
In vidite, da obstajajo še večje zvezde.
And in fact, we've discovered larger ones than this.
In smo odkrili še večje, pa ni še slike.
But Canis Majoris is huge.
Canis Majoris je ogromna.
If the Earth were the size of a golf ball,
Če bi bila zvezda žogica za golf,
Canis Majoris would be sea level to the top of Mount Everest.
Bi segala ta velika, največja zvezda od gladine morja do vrha Mount Everesta.
8.8 kilometers.
8,8 kilometrov.
You could fit 7 quadrillion Earths inside of Canis Majoris.
V Canis Majoris bi lahko dali 7 kvadriljon.
7 quadrillion,
Da, 7 kvadriljonov zvezd, zemlji.
right? It's huge.
To je ogromno.
And that's just a star.
In to je samo zvezda.
And when we look out in the night sky,
Ko pogledamo nočno nebo,
and sometimes if we have a telescope
včasih, če imamo teleskop pri
and we look
roki
closer,
in pogledamo od blizu,
we can find that some of those dots
ugotovimo, da so nekatere od teh pikic
are not just stars,
ne samo zvezde,
but galaxies.
ampak galaksije.
And galaxies anywhere from 10 million
Galaksij je nekje med 10 milijonov,
to 100 trillion stars in a galaxy.
ima 10 milijonov do 130 trilijonov sonc.
Right? And with the Webb, we can find many more.
In s tem teleskopom, zdaj novim, lahko ugotovite, vidite veliko več kot prej.
And in our galaxy,
V naši galaksiji
the average distance between stars
je povprečna oddaljenost med zvezdama
is 4.3 light years.
4,3 9,4 svetlobnega leta.
And a light year is that many kilometers.
To je toliko kilometrov.
So the average distance.
To je povprečna oddaljenost med zvezdama.
And our galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy,
Naša zvezda, Mlečna steza,
is about 10,000 light years across the narrow part,
je 10,000 svetlobnih let v tem oskem ožjem delu, ne?
and 100,000 light years in the long way across the
In
disk.
100,000 svetlobnih let po dolgem.
And the largest galaxy
Največja galaksija
is 100 trillion stars,
vsebuje 100 trilijonov zvezd.
and there are approximately 200 billion galaxies that we can observe.
Obstaja pa 200 milijonov galaksij, ki jih lahko opazujemo.
Right? And it's estimated that in the universe there are about 1 septillion stars.
Domnevajo, da je v vesolju en septilijon zvezd.
Yeah.
Toliko.
So, right. So that's a lot of stars.
To je ogromno zvezd.
And to get an idea of that,
Da bi lahko imeli zamisel o tem predstavo,
we have to go down to the beach
moramo iti na plažo
and bring some tweezers
in vzeti sam
and a big bag.
pinceto, okay, ja. In veliko vrečko.
Right? And you're going to pick up a piece of sand,
In morate vzeti en košček peska
you put it in the bag,
in ga dati v vrečko
and you count 1,
in reštete.
Two,
1, 2,
three.
3,
4,
4.
and you do it until there's there's no more beach,
In to delate, dokerkoli obstaja plaža.
and you continue around all of the beaches
In to ponovite na vseh plažah
in all of the world.
na celem svetu.
And when you're done,
In ko ste končali,
then you go to all the deserts
greste na vse puščave,
until all the deserts are gone.
dokler obstajajo puščave.
And then you have about as many pieces of sand as there are stars in the universe.
In šele takrat imate približno toliko peska, zrnc peska, kolikor je zvezd v vesolju.
It's amazing.
To je neverjetno.
And God gave a promise to Abraham once.
Bog je nekoč povedal Abrahamu eno obljubo, je mu je dal. Blagoslovil te bom in tvoje potomstvo pomnožil kakor zvezde na nebu in kakor pesek na morskem bregu.
Yeah. The idea was I'm going to give you an inheritance that is you can't count.
Zamisel je pri tem bila, dal ti bom takšno dediščino, ki jo ne moreš prešteti.
Now there's power out there.
Obstaja moč.
Now my country is the only country that has used atomic weapons in war.
Moja država je edina država, ki je uporabila jedrsko bombo v vojni.
Right? And so we dropped a couple of nuclear bombs on Japan.
Na Japonsko smo vrgli 2 bombi.
And one of those bombs released a tremendous amount of energy.
Ena je sprožila toliko energije, ogromno energije.
Right? And about 60 trillion
60 trilijonov
joules of energy.
džulov je energije bilo.
Right? But the sun releases 5 trillion times that amount in 1 second.
Sonce v eni sekundi odda how many?
5 trillion.
5 trilijonov večkrat energije, kot je ta bomba.
Right?
V eni sekundi.
But that's not the strongest.
Ampak to ni najmočnejša zadeva.
A quasar will release about 6 trillion times the sun's
Reci glasno,
power.
ne morem. Kvazar, no.
Yeah, a quasar will release about 6 trillion times the power of the
6
sun every second.
trilijonov krat močnejše, vsako sekundo večjo energijo kvazar odda.
Just tremendous power.
To je neslutena moč.
And God tells us
Bog pa pravi, z besedo Gospodovo so bila ustvarjena nebesa in z dihom njegovih ust vsa njihova vojska.
right? All of that power is as easy for God as breathing.
A vsa ta moč je za Boga tako preprosta kot dihanje.
Now, one dimension would be a line,
Ena dimenzija je črta.
and in that one dimension,
V tej črti
let's say that line goes east and west.
Predstavljamo si, da gre od zahoda do vzhoda.
You can go infinitely in one direction
Lahko greste v eno smer neskončno
or the other direction.
in v drugo tudi.
So in one dimension, you have infinity.
V eni dimenziji imate neskončnost.
But you add a second dimension,
Ko dodate drugo dimenzijo,
and now you have a plane.
razsežnost, in imate zdaj ploskev.
Now you not only have infinity,
Nimate neskončnost samo v črti,
but now you've got an infinite number of options.
ampak imate neskončno več opcij.
So now you have infinity times infinity.
In imate neskončno krat neskončno.
Right? Now you add another dimension,
Ko dodate še eno razsežnost,
right? Now you have infinity times infinity times infinity.
imate neskončnost krat neskončnost krat neskončnost.
Right? So every time you add a dimension, you add another infinity.
Kadarkoli dodate eno razsežnost, lahko pomnožite s še eno skončnostjo.
Now, as three-dimensional creatures,
Mi kot razsežnostna bitja
we don't have the capacity to really comprehend a fourth dimension.
ne moremo ravno razumeti četrte razsežnosti.
But we know mathematically that it would add another infinity.
Ampak vemo matematično, da bi dodali še eno neskončnost.
And the question is, how many dimensions are there?
In vprašanje, koliko razsežnosti je sploh.
And I can't prove it to you, but I suspect
Ne morem vam dokazati, ampak domnevam,
that just as there is infinite space,
da je enako, kakor obstaja neskončni prostor,
there are infinite dimensions.
da je neskončno razsežnosti.
And I suspect
Domnevam tudi,
that God exists in all dimensions.
da Bog biva v vseh razsežnostih.
So he exists in infinite dimensions.
Torej, prebiva v neskončno razsežnostih.
Now, the Bible talks about a place where God is,
Sveto pismo govori o kraju, kjer Bog biva.
right? And the name is called heaven.
In temu reče nebo, nebesa.
And it must be a beautiful place.
To mora biti čudovit kraj.
I don't know if you have ever been to just a beautiful concert
Ne vem, ali ste bili kdaj na prekrasnem koncertu
with an excellent choir and an orchestra,
in ste doživeli čudovito petje, zborsko petje in orkester.
right? And in a concert hall that's made for the acoustics.
In v takšni dvorani, ki je narejena za pravo akustiko.
And it's just thrilling.
In je navdušujoče.
Now, imagine multiply that by millions
In zdaj to pomnožite z milijon
and everything in perfect pitch.
in vse je v pravi intonaciji.
And just imagine what the music is like.
In se predstavljate, kakšna glasba je to.
Ooh, I mean, just, you get those goosebumps that just, it's like,
In dobite kurjo pot, vsekakor.
just amazing.
Neverjetno, osupljivo.
Now, if God is that big
Če je Bog tako velik
and God is that powerful
in tako močan
and he, and he's everywhere,
in je povsod,
now you go through all of those dimensions down to three-dimensional space.
in iz vseh teh razsežnosti se spustite na tridimenzionalno zadevo.
And with all of those lights, you go look for one light.
In s vsemi temi lučmi, ki so tam, zdaj iščete eno majhno
And you go zooming towards that light,
in greste proti tej luči
and it gets bigger and bigger.
in to postaje večje
And you see that it's a disk,
in vidite, da je to en disk
right? And you get closer and closer.
in še približujete
And in the 200 billion lights that are there,
in 200 milijard točkic je
you go looking for one,
in greste iskat
and
eno
you zoom
točko
closer and closer.
in približujete in zoomirate.
And when you get close enough,
Če pridete dovolj blizu
you see that it's got little things floating around it.
in vidite, da nekaj potuje okoli
And you find the earth,
in najdete zemljo
and you
končno.
go closer and closer to it.
In njo povečujete
And then on the earth,
in na zemlji
there's two people,
sta dva človeka,
Adam and Eve.
Adam in Eva.
And you go zooming closer, and they're
In še
just
povečate.
little dots. You get close enough, then you can see them.
In najprej ste videli samo točkice in potem, ko pridete bliže, vidite, da je osebno.
And Adam and Eve
Adam in Eva
decide that they're going to take another source,
sta se odločila, da bosta vzela drugi vir
and they cut themselves off from God.
in sta se odrezala od Boga.
Man, how easy would it be for God just to go,
Kako brez težavno bi bilo Bogu, da reče, ja, koga briga.
Right. They're gone.
In je bi šlo.
That's it.
Bi Adam in Eva šla.
So, I mean, with a thought, boom, gone.
Z eno mislijo ju ni.
Right? Or the whole earth, boom, gone.
Tudi cela zemlja bi lahko izginila v hipu.
Or our whole solar system, boom,
Ali
gone.
naše ozvezdje.
Or our
Sončje.
galaxy,
Ali galaksija.
gone. Or even three-dimensional space.
In trodimenzionalna zadeva naša.
You know, if you've got infinite dimensions, who
Itak
cares
imaš
about
neskončno razsežnosti.
who cares about this one,
Koga briga ta tri
Gone.
razsežnostna?
right? But no,
Ne,
that's not what he did.
ni bilo tako. Bog ni naredil tega.
Instead of boom, gone,
Namesto, da bi bil puf, nič,
he said, I'm going to go,
je rekel, jaz bom šel dol.
right? And I'm going to become one of those little dots.
In postal bom ena majhna točkica.
On that little dot,
Na tej majhni točkici.
next to the little light,
V bližini majhne luči,
in the midst of all of this,
sredi vsega tega
Space.
ostalega prostora.
and he
Vesolja.
came as the smallest and the most vulnerable of life.
In je prišel kot najmanjše in najbolj ogroženo življenje.
Right? As a single cell.
Kot ena sama celica.
And that cell divided into two,
Ta se je razdelila na dve
and then a four,
in so bile štiri
and
potem.
it started developing skin
In se je začela koža
and a
ustvarjati
circulatory system,
in krvni obtok,
nervous system,
živčni sistem
right? Became a little fetus,
in je postal majhen zarodek,
so helpless,
tako nebogljen.
right? And was born into this earth,
In se je rodil na tem svetu
and to very poor parents,
zelo siromašnim staršem,
so that he didn't even have a bed.
da niti posteljice ni imel.
His bed was the feeding trough for the animals.
Njegova posteljica je bila kraj, v katerega so dajali hrano za živali.
They didn't even have a place for him in the hotel.
Niso imeli v hotelu prostor zanj,
They had to be in the barn.
ampak je moral biti v hlevu.
And he was born in a barn,
Rodil se je v hlevu.
right? But why?
Zakaj?
Because he loved us.
Ker nas je ljubil.
He loved us beyond what we can imagine.
Nepredstavljivo nas je ljubil.
He saw a value in us that we don't see in ourselves.
V nas je videl vrednost, ki je mi ne vidimo.
If there was no value there,
Ali ni tam vrednost? Ne,
Gone.
če ne bi bilo vrednosti nobene, bi
Gone.
naredil puf, nič.
right? But he saw value there.
Ampak on je videl vrednost v tebi.
And he came.
In je prišel.
And he came to reveal the love of God to man.
Prišel je, da bi človeštvu pokazal Božjo ljubezen.
And he lived a life of love,
In je živel življenje ljubezni.
unselfish love,
Nesebično.
always
življenje.
looking out for the best good of others.
Iskal je samo dobro drugih. Najboljše.
But unfortunately,
Nažalost,
if your life is not going well,
če vaše življenje ne poteka tako prav, dobro,
and now you hang around somebody whose life is going perfectly,
in se znajdete ob nekom, katerega življenje je popolno,
it shows you that your life is not going well,
to vam kaže, da vaše življenje ni najboljše.
because you see that comparison.
Ker vidite razliko.
And some people did not like that at all.
Nekateri ne morejo tega prenesti.
And they didn't like him at all.
In njega niso prenesli.
And they decided life and the world would be better without him.
Odločili so se, da bi življenje in zemlja bila boljša brez njega.
And so they unfairly arrested him.
In so ga po krivici aretirali
They unfairly tried him.
in so mu sodili nepravično.
They unfairly tortured him.
Nepravično so ga mučili
And they unfairly killed him
in ga nepravično tudi umorili.
in the worst way that humanity had devised to that time.
Na najstrašnejši način, ki ga je človeštvo do takrat izumilo.
And mind you, with a single thought,
Pomislite, z eno samo mislijo
he could destroy it all.
bi on uničil vse okolje.
So how hard would it be
Kako težko bi bilo,
to submit to all of that?
da se je bilo, da se je podredil vsemu temu.
And then the question is why?
In vprašanje je, zakaj bi to naredil?
Why would you?
Zakaj bi to?
Well, because he knew what he was paying for.
Ker je vedel, kaj plačuje s to ceno.
So, how much are you worth?
Torej, kakšna je vaša vrednost?
You're not worth what your parents would pay for you.
Niste vredni, koliko bi vaši starši bili pripravljeni plačati za vas.
You're not worth what your spouse would pay for you.
Vaša vrednost ni v tem, koliko bi vaš zakonec bil pripravljen plačati.
You're not worth what your children would pay for you.
Niste vredni toliko, koliko bi vaši otroci bili pripravljeni plačati za vas.
And you're not worth what you would pay for yourself.
In niste vredni tega, kar bi vi sami zase plačali odkup.
You are worth what God
Vredni ste toliko, kolikor je Bog
would pay for you.
plačal za vas.
Right? Because He's the one that truly sees your value.
On je resnično tisti, ki vidi vašo vrednost.
We're told
V Svetem pismu beremo, vrednost duše se... Ne, tu v Svetem pismu, ti si znot Bibliji. Ne. Vrednost duše se ocenjuje po ceni, ki jo je za njo kdo plačal.
right? And we're also told
Prav tako lahko beremo, vrednost duše, kdo jo lahko oceni? Če bi poznali njeno vrednost, pojdite v Getsemani. Če bi radi spoznali njegovo vrednost, pojdite v Getsemani in tam bedite s Kristusom v tistih urah muke, ko se je potil in so prihajale velike kaplje krvi. Poglejte odrešenika, povzdignjenega na križu. Poslušajte tisti obupan krik. Moj Bog, zakaj si me zapustil? Poglejte ranjeno glavo, prebodeno stran, poškodovane noge. Spomnite se, da je Kristus tvegal vse. Za naše odrešenje so bila ogrožena sama nebesa. Ob vznožju križa, ko se spominjate, da bi Kristus za enega grešnika dal svoje življenje, lahko ocenite vrednost duše.
right? That's where you find your value.
Tam najdete vrednost.
And you can't find any value for yourself any greater than that anywhere else.
Nikjer ne boste našli, ugotovili, da je vaša vrednost večja od te.
Right? And
Ena duša je tako dragocena, da se v primerjavi z njo svetovi pogreznejo v nepomembnost.
yes. Amazing.
Osupljivo.
Right? We look at ourselves and we go, well, I don't see it.
Mi se pogledamo in rečemo, ne vidim tega.
Yeah? And we don't.
In zase nismo vredni.
Right? But I
Ne vidimo.
right? But I encourage you,
Ampak vas spodbujam,
you are far more valuable
da mislite o tem, da ste veliko več vredni,
than you could ever imagine.
kakor si lahko kdaj predstavljate.
And that changes your perspective on many things.
To lahko spremeni vaš pogled na mnoge stvari.
Right? So how do you treat something that's valuable?
Kako ravnate z nečem, kar je dragoceno?
Right? Well, this is $3.5 million.
To je vredno 3 milijone in pol. Ja.
Or, you know, and this is, 50 cents.
To pa je 50 centov.
Right?
Vrednost tega je 50 centov.
They're both vases.
Eno in drugo je vaza
They both can do the same thing.
in lahko opravlja isto službo, delo.
But how you treat this one and how you treat that one will be entirely different.
Ampak popolnoma drugače boste ravnali z eno kot z drugo.
Right? This one,
Ta?
well, you'll put the flowers in it.
Ja, dalje boste rožo v njo.
If you go on a vacation, you might leave the flowers in it.
Ko greste na počitnice, morda pozabite v njej rože.
When you come back, there's rotten water in the bottom.
Ko se vrnete, je zasmrajena voda
So you might take it over to the sink,
in greste,
and scrub it out.
morda jo boste očistili.
And if some of it is sticking, you get the
Če je nekaj še za...
Brillo pad,
Ja, boste še se malo bolj potrudili.
And you're like, well, for good measure, let's throw it in the dishwasher.
In da bi bilo res dobro očiščeno v pralni stroj, v pomivalni stroj.
And then you get it and you throw it up on the top of a counter somewhere.
In jo postavite nekam visoko na polico.
But would you do that to the Ming Dynasty vase?
Ali bi tako ravnali s to vazo iz dinastije Ming?
$3.5 million?
3 milijone in pol?
Yeah? No,
Ne,
you wouldn't do that.
nikakor.
The flowers can look at the vase,
Rože lahko opazujejo vazo,
but they're not getting in the vase.
nikoli ne pridejo noter.
You're not putting any water in the vase.
Nobene vode ne boste dali noter.
You're not using the scrubbing pad on the vase.
In ne boste s tisto žico čistili.
Right? You're not throwing it in the dishwasher.
In jo ne boste dali v pomivalni stroj.
Right? And you're not testing your ability to, to balance things on your head with the vase.
In ne boste dali vazo na glavo in preizkusili svoje sposobnosti balansiranja.
If it has very little value,
Če ima malo vrednost,
well, you can be careless.
Vas ni briga.
But if it is truly valuable,
Če nekaj je res vredno,
you cannot be careless.
ne morete biti brezbrižni.
Right? You have to be cautious
Morate biti previdni,
according to its value.
odvisno od vrednosti.
So how do you treat something of value?
Kako ravnate z nečem, kar ima veliko vrednost?
Right? Do you just put anything inside of you?
Ali dajete karkoli vsa vase?
Right? Well, the reasons that we do
Razlog, zakaj to počnemo,
is because we don't know how valuable we are.
je v tem, da se ne zavedamo svoje vrednosti.
And if I have virtually no value,
In če ne mislim, da imam kakšno vrednost, ali pa če mislim, da nimam vrednosti,
then I can put anything in me.
jaz lahko vase dam karkoli.
It doesn't matter.
Ni važno.
But if I have such tremendous value,
Če je moja vrednost tako velikanska,
I can't just put anything in.
ne morem česarkoli dajati v vase.
I can only put in those things that are worth the value that I am.
Vase lahko dam samo tisto, kar je vredno z ozirom na vrednost, ki je moja.
So how do you treat something that's valuable?
Kako ravnate z dragocenim?
Right? Well, you don't just take anything that tastes good,
Ne boste dali vase vse, kar ima dober okus.
because there's a lot of things that are very low value but very tasty.
Ker veliko je takšnih stvari, ki imajo majhno vrednost, ampak so zelo okusne.
Right? You take in those things that are of high value.
Vi želite vnesti vase tisto, kar ima visoko vrednost.
Right? You take in those things that are going to cause you to function well.
Tisto boste postavili vase, po katerem boste delovali pravilno.
Right? Because it's valuable.
Zato, ker ste vredni.
So how do you treat something that's valuable?
Torej, kako ravnate s čim dragocenim?
Well, you don't just take anything and everything and put it in.
Ne boste vzeli karkoli in vnesli vase.
You have every right and every responsibility to filter what gets in,
Imate vso pravico in tudi odgovornost, da filtrirate tisto, kar pride noter.
so that you don't feed on the things that pull you down.
Da se ne boste shranili s stvarmi, ki vas vlečejo navzdol.
You feed on those things that are in harmony with the tremendous value that you have.
Ampak se boste hranili s tistim, kar je v skladnosti z vašo vrednostjo. Veliko vrednostjo.
And how do you treat something that's of value?
Kako ravnate s tistim, kar je dragoceno?
Do you have to try to cover it up?
Ali to pokrivate?
Or do you have value just as you are?
Ali pa je vrednost v tem, kakršni ste že?
Right? And how do you treat something that's valuable?
Kako ravnate z dragocenimi stvarmi?
If the value is not based upon what we do,
Če vrednost ni v tem, kar počnemo,
if the value is not based upon the capacities or the qualities that we have,
ali pa z ozirom na kakovosti, kvalitete, ki jih imamo,
if it's not dependent upon our place in society,
če ni odvisna naša vrednost od našega položaja v družbi,
then how much value do they have?
koliko vrednosti imajo ti?
Absolutely tremendous, unimaginable value.
Neverjetno, osupljivo vrednost imajo tudi ti.
Somebody may not have a home.
Nekdo je brezdomec,
They may be living on the street.
morda živi na ulici,
They may be begging for food.
morda prosi za hrano,
They might be using the money they get
morda denar, ki ga dobijo,
here,
uporabljajo na tem področju,
but how valuable are they?
ampak kakšno vrednost imajo?
Unimaginably valuable.
Nepredstavljivo vrednost.
And when you know that,
Ko to veste,
how do you treat them?
kako ravnate z njimi?
You treat them valuable. Right?
Ravnate z njimi odvisno od vrednosti, ki jo vidite, da imajo.
And when they cannot see their own value,
Medtem ko oni ne vidijo svoje vrednosti,
you encourage them
vi jih spodbujate,
with their value.
da imajo. vrednost.
You do what you can to help them to understand their value
To naredite s tem, da jim pomagate, da bi razumeli svojo vrednost
and to begin to live in harmony with the value that they have.
in da začnejo živeti v skladnosti z vrednostjo, ki jo imajo.
If we only understood this concept
Če bi samo ta koncept razumeli,
of who we are
to, kar smo
and how valuable we are,
in kakšno vrednost, veliko vrednost imamo,
just imagine how much it would change in our lives,
predstavljajte si, kako bi to spremenilo naše življenje.
right? And how compassionate,
Kako usmiljeni,
patient,
potrpežljivi,
loving,
ljubeči,
understanding
razumevajoči
we would be towards
bili
others,
do drugih.
and how compassionate we would be to ourselves,
Kako bi bili usmiljeni do sebe,
even in the midst of our own failures and mistakes,
tudi takrat, ko nam spodrsne ali pademo.
recognizing our great value.
Samo zaradi tega, ker se zavedamo svoje vrednosti.
All right.
Če ste v občestvu s Kristusom, boste cenili vsako človeško bitje z njegovim spoštovanjem. Do drugih boste čutili enako globoko ljubezen, kot jo je Kristus čutil do vas. Potem boste sposobni pridobiti, ne pa pregnati, pritegniti, ne pa odbiti tiste, za katere je umrl. S tem osebnim delom lahko rešimo duše. Ko boste videli tiste, ki gredo v smrt, ne boste počivali v tihi brezbrižnosti in lahkotnosti.
And
Večji kot je njihov greh in globlja kot je njihova beda, bolj resna in nežna bodo vaša prizadevanja za njihovo okrevanje. Spoznali boste potrebo tistih, ki trpijo, zatirani z bremenom krivde. Vaše srce bo sočustvovalo z njimi in jim boste ponudili pomoč. V naročju svoje vere in ljubezni jih boste pripeljali k Kristusu.
right. Oh, it's beautiful. Tremendous value.
Ogromno vrednost, čudovito je.
So who are you?
Kdo ste?
What are you worth?
Kolikšno vrednost imate?
What are others worth?
Koliko so drugi ljudje vredni?
And what is a purpose that is worthy of that identity and that value?
Kateri je namen vreden te identitete in vrednosti?
Right? So these are things for us to think about.
To je, s temi mislimi bi se morali ukvarjati.
Right? But right now it's time for us to take a break.
Zdaj je trenutek, da vzamemo kratko pauzo.
15 minutes.
15 minut.
We'll come back at the beginning of the hour.
V začetku, torej ob 11. se bomo znašli tukaj.
And then we're going to look at, okay, well, what does it look like in living flesh when I have this identity?
Torej se bomo pogledali, kakšno je videti življenje, ko imamo to identiteto.
How does it affect relationships?
Kako to vpliva na odnose,
How does it affect my responses?
kako vpliva na moje odzive,
How does it affect how I think about things?
na moje mišljenje.
Right? And we're going to dive into that at the next hour.
Poglobili se bomo v to za 1 uro.
Thank you. All right.
No, Patricio.
Yes.
If I can ask something based, like you were talking before, no? But it's not what I will ask. It's more an opinion. I don't want that you think that it's some sort of criticism or thing. No, it's just a reflection. No, based on what you were talking about identity. No, and based on God. No, because. I was also, when I was younger, going to some lectures. I don't know, the translation is in English, Veruk. I don't know how to say in English. And I have half of my family very religious, Catholic religious. So it's not that I don't know what I'm talking about. And I was also reading Bible a little. And I'm confused about one thing. No, yes, before you were talking about, no, Adam and Eve, for example, no? But, for example, you didn't talk that, yes, God forgive them, but first they were punished, no?
Okay.
For example, Eve, it was said that she will have children in pain, Adam will suffer on on the ground in
Right.
his own sweating. Then are some other stories that I'm confused to, for example, and Noah and Sodom and Gomorrah, no? In the sense, yeah, you were talking about that God is love and we are his children and so on, but at some point, no, it seems, no, we have some sort of free will, or at least it's
Yes.
something like that, but
Yes.
it seems that God, in some point, he sees, okay, this is my viewing, no? People, they are not doing well, or they are sinning or something, and I will save, I don't know, for example, Noah and his family, or in Sodom and Gomorrah, a family of one guy,
Right.
and I will kill all others, not just people, also
Animals.
and also vegetables and flowers and everything.
Right.
But it's a little strange, because I think in all the world they are not all sinners, no? And God decide, okay, I will save 50 people and I will kill all them and new life begins. So just to summarize, I'm confused many times. This changes later with Jesus, let's say, but before Jesus, no, it seems God is very cruel, no? He decides, okay, I don't like them, I will kill them, I will make new people, and it's hard for me then to say, okay, my identity will be based on some guy or some force, then if I will don't do right, I will be punished in some way. Just, I would like to hear some your...
No, excellent. Perfect.
I'll just
Perfect, yeah, you're gonna...
Prav, gospod je vprašal zaradi vzgoje, ki smo imeli, verouka in podobno, zgodbe od Adama, Eve, Noeta, recimo potem Lota v Sodomu in Gomori. Zakaj je v bistvu Bog bil tako rekoč tako strog, oziroma je bil tako drastičen, je dal vse pobiti, je preživel samo eden, oziroma dva, oziroma tistih 8, oziroma 50, ali kakorkoli govori. Kako potem zdaj Jezus, ki je zdaj ljubeč in čisto kontrasten napram temu, bi rekli, starozaveznemu Bogu? Sem povzel prav?
Mislim v smislu, da vidim težavo bazirati svojo identiteto na nekoga, ki, ko da, če zdaj v smislu ne delam prav, bom kar kaznovan, oziroma mi da svobodno voljo, hkrati v bistvu mi je ne da, ker če ti daš nekomu svobodno voljo, ga ne kaznuješ, pustiš, da dela kar hoče, ne da ga bolj eliminiraš, ne, ali pa daš nekaj prepreke.
Torej, zdaj gospoda skrbi, kako naj potem bazira identiteto na nekom...
To je bilo slovensko.
Ja, ampak ni na mikrofonu.
Ja.
Bazira identiteto, ki ima zdaj dvomljivo pogled, dvomljiv pogled, glede na to, kakšen je bil Bog včasih, oziroma kakšen je Jezus.
Yes, and so it's an excellent question,
Super vprašanje
and it's an excellent observation,
in tudi opažnja,
because the question highlights a concern that everybody runs into.
torej ta vprašanje kaže in osvetljuje to, do katerega vprašanja v bistvu vsi nekoč pridemo. Ne?
And ultimately it boils down to the question, if God is all-powerful
In na koncu pride to do tega vprašanja, če je Bog
and God is
vsemogoč
loving,
in ljubeč,
then why is there suffering?
zakaj potem trpimo?
And why do there have to be punishments?
In zakaj mora biti kazen?
Right. Now, if we back up a little bit,
Če se vrnemo malce nazaj,
we recognize that, or at least the Bible tells us, that the character of God is love.
saj prepoznamo, saj v Bibliji tako piše, da je značaj Boga ljubezen.
Right. And love cannot be love if it is programmed,
Ljubezen pa ne more biti programirana
and it cannot be love if it is forced.
in tudi ne, če je prisiljena.
Love can only be love if it's voluntary.
Samo, če je prostovoljna.
So if I put a gun to your head
Če dam pištolo na glavo nekomu
and I tell you do this
in mu rečem,
or
stori
do
to
that,
in ono,
well, you can do it.
lahko storiš, ja.
But if I put a gun to your head
Ampak če imate pištolo na glavi
and I tell you love me,
in mu rečem, ljubi me,
uh-uh,
ne bo šlo.
right? Because you cannot trust one who forces you,
Ker ne morete zaupati tistemu, ki vas sili.
right? And love must involve trust,
Torej, ljubezen zaobsega tudi zaupanje.
right? And so in order for us to be able to love,
In zato, da bi mi bili sposobni ljubiti,
God must create us so that we have our own choices.
nas je mogel Bog tako ustvariti, da imamo lastne odločitve.
We have our own self-government.
Samo vladanje, sami vladamo sebi.
And so we have our own thoughts,
Lastne misli,
our own beliefs,
svoje verovanja,
our own
prepričanja,
choices,
izbire.
right? And where God gives us freedom to govern ourselves,
In ker nam Bog daje svobodo, da sami sebi vladamo,
God has no control there,
on tam ne kontrolira.
right? Because if he took control of what he gave us control of, he wouldn't have given us the control.
Če bi on nam tukaj odvzel to kontrolo, kar nam je dal nam, podelil, potem ne bi to delovalo. Ne?
Now, for all of his creation,
Za vse njegovo stvarstvo.
if you evaluate it, everything that you need is good,
Če to precenite, vse, kar potrebujete v bistvu v osnovi, je dobro.
right? You need unselfishness, not selfishness.
Potrebujete nesebičnost.
You
ne
need
sebičnost.
acceptance, not rejection,
Potrebujete sprejetost in ne nesprejetost.
right? You need harmony, not conflict,
Potrebujete harmonijo in ne konflikt.
and so on, right? So every need that we have is good.
Vse potrebe, ki jih imamo, so dobre.
And when our needs are fulfilled,
In ko so naše potrebe izpolnjene,
then there's proper function,
potem pride tudi do pravega delovanja
and we have the good,
in imamo te dobre stvari
and now we can do the good,
in zdaj lahko tudi dobre stvari počnemo.
right? And that's how God created all of his creation to function.
In tako si je Bog zamislil, da bi vso njegovo stvarstvo tudi delovalo.
Now, why did it begin to dysfunction?
Zakaj pa se je pričelo slabo delovati?
I would say that there's no answer to that.
Jaz bi rekel, da na to ni odgovora,
But what happened, we can know,
ampak to, kar se je zgodilo, pa vemo.
right? And the Bible tells us
In v Bibliji piše,
that Lucifer,
da je Lucifer,
who was the highest of the
ki
angels,
je bil en izmed najvišji med angeli,
somehow, mysteriously,
je nekako skrivnostno
he began to think that the qualities and capacities that he had
začel misliti, da lastnosti in sposobnosti, ki jih ima,
actually came from himself.
da so prišle od njega.
So it was his power,
Torej, da je šlo za njegovo moč,
it was his qualities,
njegove lastnosti.
and so on, and he was very beautiful and very powerful.
In zelo lep je bil in zelo mogočen.
And so he began to have pride
Tako je v njemu zrastel ponos
and began to be selfish.
in postal je tako sebičen.
Because instead of seeing himself as a child of God,
Namesto, da bi sebe videl kot Božjega otroka,
a creature
stvarstvo,
that must take in order to give,
stvarstvo, ki mora jemati, da bi lahko dajalo,
a channel where nothing comes from yourself,
kanal, kjer v bistvu nič ni od tebe,
but you must take it first in order to have it, and then you can give it.
ampak moraš prvo vzeti, zato da lahko daš naprej,
He began to think that he was the source.
je začel si misliti, da je on vir vsega,
He was the fountain.
da je on izvir vsega.
Now, because that delusion
Zaradi te utvare
came in the area where Lucifer had his own self-government,
je prišlo na tistem delu, kjer je Lucifer imel svojo samovlado,
then God had no control of that.
in Bog ni imel kontrole nad tem, ker je imel
Right.
svobodno voljo.
And so God could not get inside of his self-control
Torej, Bog ni mogel iti v njega, v njegovo samovlado,
in order to fix the problem in there,
da bi stvar popravil v njemu,
because that was Lucifer's own self-control.
ker je to bila samovlada v Luciferju, sama izbira.
And the only way that God could try to convince him that he was in error
In edini način, da bi Bog lahko prepričal Luciferja, da se moti,
is by allowing what was inside
da bi dopustil to, kar je znotraj njega bilo,
to come out,
da se pokaže nazven.
and by the effects of what came out
In po dejanjih, učinkih tega, kar je prišlo ven,
to try to convince him that what he thought was right was not right.
da bi ga s tem lahko prepričal, da te stvari, kar se so njemu zdele pravilne, da niso dobre.
So God could not fix Lucifer's problem by simply talking to him.
Bog ni mogel Luciferjev problem popraviti s tem, da bi se samo z njim pogovarjal.
The only way that he could possibly convince him was to allow things to play out.
Edini način, da bi ga lahko prepričal, je, da je pač dopusti dejanjem, dogodkom pač svoj prosti tok.
So that by the effects of it,
Torej, da vidimo potem po dejanjih, učinkih,
Lucifer could look at it and go, oh,
da bi lahko on prepoznal v temu, ojej,
yeah, I must be on a wrong path.
ja, ne, očitno sem res na napačni poti.
And then he himself make a choice to change.
In da bi se potem on sam,
Right?
da bi si izbral sam, da se spremeni.
Now, Lucifer claimed to have a better way than God had.
Lucifer je trdil, da je imel boljši način vladanja kot Bog.
And it's not wrong to come up with anything better,
In nič ne narobe, če se spomnite kaj boljšega,
because better is good.
kaj boljše je dobro, ne?
Right? So it appeared that he had a good cause.
Zgledalo je, kot da je imel dober namen.
And he shared his good cause with others.
In ta dober namen je delil z drugimi.
And they thought, well, maybe he has a good cause.
In tudi tisti so mislili, ja, morda pa je res to dobro.
Now, what would happen if God said, gone?
Kaj bi se zgodilo, če bi Bog samo uničil Luciferja?
Well, then the other angels,
Potem bi tisti drugi angeli
they'd look at it and they'd go, oh,
bi to videli in bi, oj, jaj.
if we question God,
Torej, če karkoli vprašamo Boga,
maybe
morda nas ne bo več.
he'll destroy us,
Bo tudi nas uničil.
right? And now fear would begin to spread,
Tako bi se začel širiti strah.
and fear never causes allegiance.
In strah nikoli ne dela zaveznikov.
True allegiance only comes from love,
Pravo zavezništvo prihaja iz ljubezni.
and love must be free.
Ljubezen pa mora biti svobodna.
So, for the sake of love,
Torej, za voljo ljubezni
God must allow Lucifer to question,
mora Bog dovoliti Luciferju, da se sprašuje o teh
to
stvareh,
share his questions,
da deli svoje mnenje in
to
vprašanja,
influence others in another direction,
da vpliva druge in jih vodi v drugo smer
and to allow it to play out,
in da se to vse odvije.
so that
pokaže.
by the effects they can look at it
Tako da lahko po rezultatih se to pogleda
and they can go, nope, I don't want that.
in si rečejo, ne, tega pa ne želimo.
So that by the demonstration between what Lucifer proposed
Torej, z demonstracijo tega, kar je Lucifer predlagal
and what God's kingdom was,
in kar je bilo Božje kraljestvo,
you could look at the effects of both
ste lahko videli učinke obojega
and you could say, yes, I want a part of this.
in si lahko rekli, ja, želim biti del tega,
I don't want that.
ne pa tistega.
Right? And so everybody's self-government is preserved.
Torej, tako je vsak lahko ohranil svojo samovlado.
But if God would destroy them too soon,
Če pa bi jih Bog prehitro uničil
and people still, or angels still thought, well, maybe he's right, Lucifer. Right?
ja, in bi drugi angeli še vedno mislili, ja, morda pa ima Lucifer vseeno prav,
And maybe he has a good cause.
morda ima celo dober namen,
Right? Then that whole issue of fear
potem bi ta problem strahu
would take over,
prevzel
and that fear would ultimately lead to rebellion.
in ta strah bi na koncu vodil v upor.
And so, for the sake of saving as much of his creatures as possible,
Za voljo rešitve vseh svojih ustvarjenih biti,
God must allow
mora Bog dovoliti
the freedom to self-govern,
svobodo, da sami vladajo.
even when that self-government is harmful,
Tudi, če je to škodljivo v tem primeru.
so that by the effects of it,
Torej, da bi po učinkih lahko, rezultatih,
you might be able to see what's inside
videli, kaj je znotraj vas.
and then go, oh no, I don't want to keep going this way.
In se tako odločite, o ne, ne želim iti po tej
I want to
poti,
go this way.
ampak po drugi poti.
And so that controversy was then spread to humans after the creation of Adam and Eve.
Ta veliki boj, ki se je začel v nebesih, se je preselil tako preko Adama in Eve na zemljo.
And instead of just destroying them,
Namesto da bi jih uničil,
now God knows that they're in a delusion.
zdaj Bog ve, da sta Adam in Eva v utvari.
And if you've ever dealt with somebody that's delusional,
In če ste kdaj bili soočeni z nekom, ki je v utvari, v prevari,
you know that somebody that's delusional doesn't think they're delusional.
potem veste, da ta oseba ne verjame, da je v utvari.
But if somebody is delusional and they have self-government
Ampak če je nekdo v utvari in imajo samovladanje
and they govern themselves according to the delusion,
in tudi se tako obnašajo glede na to lažno sliko.
But according to the delusion, they are harming themselves and harming others.
Ampak v tej utvari škodujejo sebi in drugim.
And you cannot take over their self-government.
In tako ne morete prevzeti njihove samovlade.
Then how do you convince them that they're delusional?
Kako jih lahko potem prepričate, da so v utvari?
Right. Well, one of the only ways that you can convince them that they're delusional
Edini način, da jih lahko prepričate, da so v utvari,
is if you allow what's inside to come out.
če dovolite, da to, kar je v njih, da se to izlije iz njih.
And you allow it, if it's good, it works.
In to dovolite, in če je dobro, potem deluje.
And if it's not good, it doesn't work.
In če ni dobro,
Right.
potem to ne deluje.
And so God must allow Adam and Eve
Tako je Bog moral dovoliti Adamu in Evi,
to be able to see
da sta lahko videla
by the consequences
po posledicah
and the things around them
in po rečeh, ki so se dogajali okoli njiju.
what was the condition inside of them,
In kakšno je bilo stanje znotraj njiju.
so that still having their self-government,
Tako da sta še vedno imela svojo samovlado
they can look at it and go, oh no, I don't want to keep going that way.
in lahko to stvar analizirate in rečete, ne želiva iti to pot,
I want to go this way.
ampak to drugo pot.
I agree with God and His way
Strinjam se z Bogom in njegovim načinom,
because it works
ker to deluje
and it's for my best good.
in je za moje dobro.
Right. And so I think a lot of people have the idea
Mnogo ljudi ima to miselnost,
that God's rules are arbitrary.
da so Božji zakoni, pravila pristranska.
Right? So, like human laws are arbitrary.
Tako kot človeški zakoni, ki so pristranski.
You go out on a road and it has a speed limit.
Greste na cesto in imate omejitev hitrosti.
Right? Yeah, and so, okay, why does it have that speed limit?
Torej, zakaj je ta omejitev hitrosti?
Because somebody came along and they said, you know what, I think we should all drive this speed limit on this road.
Ker je nekdo tam pač določil in menil, da bi morali pelati to hitrost.
That is an arbitrary law.
To je pristranski zakon.
Right.
Samovoljni zakon.
Right? But if you have a road that has a sharp corner
Ampak če imate cesto, kjer je ovinek zelo oster
and there's a sign that says danger, slow down,
in piše na znaku previdno, upočasnite,
that's not an arbitrary law,
to ni samovoljni zakon,
right? That's a natural law.
ampak je naravni zakon.
Now, if you violate an arbitrary law,
Če kršite samovoljni zakon,
then there is an arbitrary penalty.
potem dobite tudi kazen za to.
But if you
Samovoljno kazen.
violate a natural law,
Če pa kršite naravni zakon,
there are natural consequences.
so tudi take posledice iz naravnega zakona.
If you don't take caution and slow down when you go around the corner
In če niste previdni, ko zavijate okoli takega ovinka
and you go off the cliff,
in padete iz hriba dol,
there are natural consequences that will come by that decision.
so naravne posledice temu, ki sledijo.
So when God told Adam and Eve,
Torej, ko je Bog rekel Adamu in Evi,
if you eat from this tree,
če boste jedla od tega drevesa,
you will die.
boste umrla.
That was not God setting up a speed limit sign,
Bog tukaj ni postavil znaka za hitrost
and it wasn't Him saying, if you do this, I will kill you.
in tudi ni rekel, če boste to storila, vaju bom ubil.
It was Him warning Adam and Eve about a natural law.
On ju je, Adama in Eva je upozoril glede na naravni zakon.
And that is, if you separate from the source of life,
In to je to, če se ločite od vira življenja,
you will die.
boste posledično umrli.
No question.
Brez vprašanja.
Just like
Tako
if
je.
you speed around that corner and you go off the cliff,
Isto kot pri prehitri vožnji okoli ovinka.
you will get the consequences.
Posledice bomo.
And so, God knows the delusion that we're in,
Bog pozna to našo utvaro
and He knows that if the delusion could continue
in tudi ve, da če bi se ta utvara nadaljevala
and there was no consequences,
in da ne bi bilo posledic,
there was no pain and suffering,
bolečine in trpljenja,
everything worked well,
če bi vse delovalo tako kot dobro,
there would be no reason for us to question our delusion.
ne bi bilo razloga, da bi se vprašali o naši utvari.
And then we could continue in our self-destructive delusion
In potem bi nadaljevali v tej samouničevalni utvari naprej,
without any reason to question it.
brez kakršnega koli razloga, da bi se povprašali, ali je dobro.
But the consequences
Posledice pa
are there to help to wake us up
so tam, da nam pomagajo, da bi se prebudili.
to the condition that we're in,
Prebudili do stanja, v katerem smo.
so that we can recognize our own internal problem,
Da bi tako prepoznali naš lastni notranji problem.
and now we can turn to God to help us to save us.
In zdaj se v tem primeru lahko obrnemo k Bogu, da bi nas rešil.
Not by Him forcing us,
Ne, da bi nas on silil,
but by Him preserving our self-government the entire time.
s tem je on ohranil našo samovlado ves ta čas.
Now, God is the creator,
Bog je stvarnik
and He is the only one that has the right to determine whether a life should continue or end.
On je edini, ki ima pravico odločiti, ali življenje se nadaljuje ali pa se zaključi.
And because our life is given to us so that we might have the opportunity to be in harmony with creation
In zato, ker smo to življenje dobili
and to do good,
kot priložnost, da vidimo, ali smo v harmoniji in delamo dobro,
right? Then, as our lives continue in that direction,
in ko naše življenje gre po tej poti, v to smer,
then there's every right to continue that life.
potem tudi je pravica, da nadaljuje to življenje.
But if now I start to go contrary to nature,
Ampak če se zdaj odločim in grem proti naravnim zakonom
and I start destroying you,
in začnem uničevati drugega, ga ubijem
and I start destroying you,
in drugega,
and I start destroying you,
še nekoga,
and I start destroying you,
kar je nepar ljudi,
right? It is it is completely right
je pravilno,
for God to say,
da Bog reče,
okay, enough is enough,
dovolj je dovolj.
right? It's time for your life to come to an end
Čas je, da se tvoje življenje zaključi.
so that others have a chance,
Tako da imajo tudi drugi
an opportunity
priložnost,
to live without that destruction.
da živijo brez
Right.
tega uničenja.
And when it came to the flood,
In recimo pri poplavi,
and when it came to Sodom and Gomorrah,
Sodoma in Gomora recimo tudi,
right, and some other examples that we have in the Bible,
in drugih primerov iz Biblije,
God was patient with the people for a long, long time.
Bog je bil mnogo časa zelo potrpežljiv z ljudmi.
Before the flood, a couple thousand years,
Pred potopom 1000 let plus.
right? But it got to the point
Ampak prišlo je do točke,
where everybody was in a destruction mode.
kjer so vsi bili v takem razmišljanju, da so samo še uničevali.
And there were only 8 people left on the earth
In samo še 8 ljudi je bilo na zemlji,
that were not in destruction mode.
ki niso bili take miselnosti.
And God knew
In Bog je vedel,
that if those 8 survived,
da če bo teh 8 preživelo,
it would be a reset for humanity,
bo to nekakšen reset za človeštvo.
right? To give them an opportunity to continue to live without that destruction.
Da jim da ponovno priložnost, da živijo brez tega uničenja.
And He left the ark open
In zato je tudi pustil barko odprto
for anybody that would come in.
za kogarkoli, ki je želel priti noter.
And Noah warned the world for 120 years.
In Noe, ko je gradil barko, je ljudi opozarjal 120 let.
And the door was open.
In vrata so bila odprta.
And the animals came and got into the ark.
Živali so same prišle noter.
And
v
the
barko
door was open.
In vrata so še vedno bila odprta.
And Noah and his family came into the ark.
In Noe in njegova družina so šli v barko.
And the door was open.
Vrata še vedno odprta.
And no one else would get in.
In nihče drug ni šel noter.
It was open, it was available,
Odprta so bila, na
but
voljo je bilo,
but they wouldn't get in.
ampak niso šli noter.
And eventually the door closed,
In na koncu so se vrata zaprla
and then there was no more chance to get in.
in potem ni bilo več mogoče priti noter.
And everybody that by their own choice remained outside,
In vsi, ki so po svoji izbiri ostali zunaj,
they died.
so umrli.
God gave them plenty of opportunity
Bog jim je dal mnogo priložnosti
and plenty of warning.
in opozoril.
A similar thing happened in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Isto se je zgodilo tudi v Sodomu in Gomori.
And in some of the cultures or some of the cities where the Israelites were told to kill everyone,
In tudi v teh primerih, kjer je bilo Izraelcem ukazano, da pobijajo vse, v teh mestih se isto bilo priložnosti.
100 or so years before that, or 40 years before that,
40 let pred tem recimo,
God told them, no, don't do it,
je Bog rekel, ne storite tega,
because I'm still working with them.
ker še vedno delam na tem ljudstvu.
There's still hope.
Še vedno je bilo upanje.
Right? But when it got to the point where there was no more hope,
Ko pa je prišlo do točke, ko ni bilo več upanja za tisto mesto,
where everybody would simply be destructive,
ker so vsi bili samo še uničevalni,
then it was better
potem je bilo bolje,
to end that destructive life
da se to uničevalno življenje zaključi,
than to perpetuate it to expand and destroy many others.
kot pa da se to širi in uniči še mnogo drugih.
And so God is always doing everything that he can to save as many people as possible.
Tako Bog vedno deluje, da bi rešil čim več ljudi.
And he always leaves us free to govern ourselves.
In vedno dopušča, da si sami vladamo.
And yes, at times,
In ja, včasih res
he must bring a life to an end,
mora neko življenje zaključiti,
because that life will only be used now to do evil or to harm others.
ker bo to življenje bilo samo še v delovanju zla ali pa v tem, da bo škodilo drugim.
And in the end,
In na koncu
everybody will get to see
bodo vsi videli
everything that God was doing,
vse, kar je Bog delal,
everything that Lucifer was
kar je
doing,
Lucifer delal,
and they'll be able to compare it all,
in to bodo ljudje na koncu lahko primerjali
and they'll get to look at it and they'll go, oh, God's way was perfect.
in bodo lahko rekli, ja, res Božji način je bil boljši.
Absolutely perfect.
Absolutno popoln način.
I agree with that.
Strinjam se s tem.
Right. So it's a long answer to a very important question.
Dolg odgovor na zelo pomembno vprašanje.
Right? And that may leave you with some more questions,
To morda sproža tudi več vprašanj,
which is fine.
kar je v redu.
But we got more time today to go over more questions.
Imamo še časa danes za vprašanje.
All right, so let's look at this new identity.
Poglejmo si sedaj to novo identiteto.
We're told in 1 John 3:1,
Piše, poglejte, koliko ljubezen nam je dal Oče, da se imenujemo otroci Božji.
right? So God calls us his children.
Bog nas imenuje, da smo njegovi otroci.
And as a child,
In kot otrok,
as a creature,
kot stvarstvo,
I am not my own.
nisem samo svoj.
I come from God.
Od Boga sem.
I belong to him,
Njegov sem.
right? And if I don't come from myself,
In če ne prihajam samo od sebe,
if I am not my own,
če nisem samo svoj,
then I cannot give anything from myself.
potem nič ne dajem samo od sebe.
I can only give what came through me.
Dajem lahko samo tisto, kar je prišlo skozi mene.
And so I must first come and take from God what I need
Torej, prvo moram priti in vzeti od Boga to, kar potrebujem,
so that I can give it to others.
da lahko dam drugim.
And what I give is a reflection of what I took.
In to, kar dajem, je refleksija tega, kar sem vzel.
And so, since what I gave didn't come from me,
In zato, ker to, kar sem dal, ni prišlo od mene,
then I don't have an expectation for myself
potem nimam pričakovanj sam zase,
in relation to what I gave.
glede na to, kaj sem dal.
I give it to you for your sake,
To dajem tebi zaradi tebe,
and so I expect it to be good for you,
pričakujem, da bo dobro tudi tebi,
but I don't need you to be good to me in return,
ne potrebujem pa, da si ti v zamenjavo do mene dober.
because I'm not giving what I'm giving so that I can get you to give to me in return.
Zato, ker ti ne dajem to, kar ti dajem, zato, da bi nekaj dobil nazaj.
I'm giving what I'm giving because that's what I've got,
Ampak ti dajem zato, ker to je to, kar imam.
and I have it because I took it.
In imam zato, ker sem to vzel.
And God is good,
In Bog je dober,
and so what I take is good,
torej to, kar jemljem, je dobro.
what I have is good,
To, kar imam, je dobro.
and what I give is
In
good,
kar dajem, je dobro.
right? And we find this very same fundamental law
Ta isti temeljni zakon najdemo
right here in the law of God,
ravno tukaj v Božjem moralnem zakonu.
right? There's a reason why it's written on two stones.
Razlog je bil, zakaj je bilo napisano to na dve tabli.
And of course, we don't know what the stones look like,
Ne vemo, kakšna oblika je bila, ampak v redu.
but thanks to the movie Moses,
Ampak po filmu Mojzes,
right, we make them look
Mama
like this,
publiko.
but who knows?
kdo ve, kakšne so bile.
But God put it on two stones for a reason,
Ampak Bog je to dal napisati na dve kamniti tabli.
right? I think if we were doing it,
Z namenom. Če bi to mi počeli in storili, kako bi bilo?
we would probably put it all on one stone,
Verjetno bi dali to na en kamen.
or we
Alba.
would put 10 commandments, one on each stone.
Ali pa bi dali 10 zapovedi vsako na svoj kamen.
It doesn't seem to make so much sense to put it on two,
Nam nima neke bistvene logike, da je to na dveh kamenih.
except that we realize
Razen za to, da se zavedamo,
that those first 4 commandments have to do with our relationship with God,
da prve 4 zapovedi govorijo v odnosu z Bogom
and those last 6 commandments have to do with our relationship to others.
in zadnjih 6 zapovedi govorijo o odnosu z
Right.
drugimi.
And so it tells us, don't take another source,
Pove nam, da ne jemlji od drugega vira,
because I'm the only source that has what you need.
ker je Bog edini vir, ki ima vse, kar potrebuješ.
And if you separate from me and try to take from another source,
In če se ločiš od mene in želiš imati od drugega vira,
you're not going to have what you need,
ne boš imel tega, kar potrebuješ.
and you're eventually going to die.
In boš na koncu umrl.
And I don't want you to die.
In jaz ne želim, da bi ti umrl.
And if you take my name in vain,
In če jemlješ moje ime po nemarnem,
well, it shows that you've already separated
to že kaže, da si se že ločil od mene
and you're in danger.
in si v nevarnosti.
And then it talks about the Sabbath,
Govori tudi o soboti
and the Sabbath is about rest.
in sobota govori o počitku.
Now, rest is not what you do,
Počitek ni to, kar počnete,
rest is what you experience.
počitek je to, kar doživite.
So you don't do rest,
Torej, ne da počivate,
you experience
ampak ga
rest.
doživite kot počitek.
And rest is the experience
In počitek je izkušnja,
of your needs being satisfied.
ko so tvoje potrebe zadovoljene.
When you've had enough to eat,
Ko ste imeli dovolj za jesti,
you've had enough to drink,
dovolj za pit,
enough to breathe,
dihati,
enough sleep,
spanca,
enough energy,
energije,
right? There's rest,
potem počivate.
right? And so yeah. And so that fourth commandment is telling us, take,
Torej, ta četrta zapoved nam pravi, vzami.
right? Take all you need
Vzami vse, kar potrebuješ,
so that you can be full,
da bi lahko bil izpolnjen.
and now you can be at rest,
In sedaj lahko počivaš.
right? And it also tells us where you take from.
In tudi pove nam, od kje jemljemo.
You take from the creator of the heavens and the earth
Jemljemo od stvarnika nebes in zemlje,
and the seas and all that's in them.
morja in vsega, kar je v njem.
So he's the creator God.
Torej, on je tisti Bog stvarnik.
He has everything you need.
Vse ima, kar potrebujete.
Come and take what you need from him.
Pridite in vzamite, kar potrebujete od njega.
Now, the fifth commandment says we are to honor our father and mother.
Peta zapoved govori o tem, da naj spoštujemo očeta in mater.
And I think it could list other relationships,
Lahko bi nam opisali še druge odnose med ljudmi,
but it lists the relationships that everybody has at some point.
ampak na neki točki opisuje vse odnose, ki jih imamo v našem.
Not everybody has a sister.
Nimajo vsi sestre,
Not everybody has a child.
nimajo vsi otrok
Not everybody has a spouse.
ali soproga.
But at some point, everybody had a mother and father.
Ampak na neki točki so vsi imeli očeta in mater.
So essentially, it tells us we should honor everyone.
V osnovi nam v bistvu zapoved govori, da naj spoštujemo vse.
Right. Now, how do you honor them?
Kako jih torej spoštujemo?
Do you honor them by
A jih častimo z napenjanjem? Ne vem. Ste videli?
No, of course not.
Seveda, da ne.
Right? You can only honor them if you have honor,
Častite jih samo, če imate čast,
but you're not the source of honor.
ampak vi niste vir časti.
So in order to honor them,
Torej, da bi jih lahko častili,
you have to come and take honor from the source of honor.
morate vzeti čast od vira časti.
Now when you take it,
Ko to vzamete,
you've got it,
jo imate
and now you can give it.
in sedaj jo lahko daste.
Right? So the law shows us we are to take from God
Zakon nam kaže, da bi morali imati od Boga,
and we're to give to others.
da bi dali drugim.
And it says, don't take your life from here.
In piše tudi, ne ubijaj,
Don't take your intimacy from here.
Ne prešuštuj,
Don't take your stuff from here.
ne jemlji teh stvari od tukaj.
Don't take
stvari,
your truth or
žene,
reputation or respect from
resnice,
here.
spoštovanja iz te strani.
Don't even think about taking from here.
Niti ne razmišljaj, da bi karkoli iz te strani jemal.
This isn't where you take.
Tukaj ne jemljete,
You take there,
vzamete pri Bogu
right? And the one that you take from,
in jemljete,
you're dependent upon.
od kogar ste odvisni.
And so God intended for us to be dependent upon Him.
In Bog je tudi nameraval, namenil, da smo mi odvisni od njega.
And the ones that you give to,
In tistim, katerim to damo,
you give what you took.
da ste to, kar ste vzeli od njega.
And God is unselfish,
In Bog je nesebičen.
so what you give is unselfish.
Torej, kar dajete, je nesebično.
And so the law says we are to take to give,
Torej, zakon pravi, vzamemo, da bi dali.
right? And that's love,
In to je ljubezen.
right? Love is taking to give.
Ljubezen je jemanje, da bi dali.
Having God as our source
S tem, da imamo Boga kot svoj vir
and giving unselfishly to others.
in nesebično damo drugim.
And that's how we were created to function.
In tako smo bili ustvarjeni, da delujemo.
And so we function like a channel.
Mi delujemo kot ta kanal,
Right.
prenosnik.
And so if I have God as my source,
Če imam Boga kot vir,
He's good.
on je dober,
Now good is available,
dobrota je na voljo
and I get to take that good
in to dobroto vzamem.
and I get to give that good,
In dajem to dobroto.
regardless of what they're like down here.
Ne glede na to, kako je tam spodaj.
All right? It's beautiful.
Čudovito.
All right? I'm going to read that.
Ljubezen je temelj pobožnosti. Ne glede na izpoved, nima nihče čiste ljubezni do Boga, če ne goji nesebične ljubezni do brata. Tega duha pa si nikoli ne moremo pridobiti s tem, da poskušamo ljubiti druge. Tisto, kar potrebujemo, je Kristusova ljubezen v srcu. Ko se naš jaz stopi s Kristusom, ljubezen privre samodejno. Popolnost krščanskega značaja bomo dosegli, ko se bo v nas stalno oglašala želja, da pomagamo drugim in jih blagoslavljamo. Kadar nebeško sonce napolni naše srce in se razodeva na našem obrazu.
Beautiful.
Čudovite besede.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Now, in my fallen condition
V mojem padnem stanju,
that we talked about on Thursday,
tem, ko smo govorili v četrtku,
where I, the creature, believe that I'm a God,
kjer jaz stvarstvo verjamem, da sem Bog,
when I tell somebody else I love you,
in ko rečem nekomu, da ga ljubim,
that doesn't mean that I love you.
to ne pomeni, da ga ljubim.
That means that I'm looking for love.
To pomeni, da iščem ljubezen.
Because when I say I love you,
Takrat, ko jaz rečem, da nekoga ljubim,
well, I want you to tell me I love you too.
želim tudi jaz, da mi isto vrne nazaj.
So my I love yous are not for you,
Torej, moji ljubim te niso za te,
they're for me,
ampak so zame,
because I want you to love me,
ker hočem, da vi ljubite mene.
right? But when I know that I'm a child of God,
Ampak ko vem, da sem Božji otrok
and I have Him as my source,
in imam njega kot svoj vir,
now I don't love you for my sake.
te ne ljubim zaradi mene, sebe,
I don't love you because you're being lovely right now.
te ne ljubim zaradi tega, ker si vreden, ker si ljubezniv,
I love you because I have love,
ampak te ljubim zato, ker imam ljubezen.
and I have love because He's my source and He's loving.
In imam to ljubezen zato, ker je Bog moj vir in On je ljubezen.
So when I tell you I love you,
Torej, ko ti povem, da te ljubim,
that's a statement of fact.
to je izjava kot dejstvo.
And if I say I love you,
In če rečem ljubim te,
and you say, okay,
in ti rečeš v redu,
and I say I love you,
in rečem ljubim te,
and you say, well, that's your problem,
in ti rečeš, ja, to je tvoj problem.
right? Now, I'm not devastated because you're not loving me back.
Sedaj nisem potrt, ker ti mene ne ljubiš nazaj,
But I am concerned for you
ampak me skrbi za tebe,
because I love you,
ker te ljubim
and I know that there's something going on in your life
in vem, da se v tvojem življenju nekaj dogaja,
that's causing you to not accept the love,
ki povzroča to, da ne sprejmeš te ljubezni.
right? So my concern is for you,
Torej, moja skrb je za tebe,
not for me,
ne za mene.
right? And in our fallen condition,
V našem padnem stanju
we give with the expectation of returns.
dajemo s pričakovanjem, da dobimo nekaj nazaj.
But when I know the truth that I'm a child of God,
Ko pa spoznam resnico, da sem Božji otrok,
then I take from God,
jemljem od Boga,
I give to you,
dajem tebi,
now it's yours.
sedaj je to tvoje.
You're free to do with it whatever you
S
want
tem lahko
to,
počnete, kar čete.
right? And I don't need you to respond in a certain way
In ne pričakujem, da se odzovete na določen način,
because your response is your issue,
ker je vaš odziv, to je vaša stvar.
right? So if I have, in my old way of thinking,
Če imam v mojem starem načinu razmišljanja,
if I love somebody a lot
če nekoga zelo ljubim
and I get them a very expensive gift,
in jim dam zelo dragoceno darilo,
and I give them that gift,
jim dam to darilo,
and they take the gift and they throw it on the ground and they stomp on
vzamem
it,
darilo in ga pomendrajo na tleh,
right? Well, then I feel upset,
potem se
hurt,
čutim prizadetega,
rejected,
zavrnjenega,
bewildered or
Zmedenega.
confused, you know, and crushed,
morda celo
right?
potrtega, jaz sem že rekel.
And the reason that I'm upset is because I didn't receive what I expected.
In razlog, zakaj sem potrt, je zato, ker tega nisem pričakoval.
Because I expected them to receive the gift well.
Ker sem pričakoval, da bodo darilo dobro sprejeli.
I expected them to give me a hug or a kiss or invite me in or something,
Pričakoval sem, da me bojo objeli ali pa ljubčka dali ali pa me povabili noter v hišo,
right? Just depending on the relationship.
odvisno od odnosa.
And I didn't get what I expected.
In nisem dobil tega, kar sem pričakoval.
And I feel personally hurt
In osebno se počutim prizadetega,
because that present represents me.
ker to darilo predstavlja mene.
And when they stomped on the
In
present,
ko so pomendrali to darilo,
I saw them as stomping on me.
sem jih videl, kot da mendrajo po meni.
But when I recognize that I'm just the delivery person,
Ampak ko se zavem, da sem jaz v bistvu samo dostavljalec,
that I get to get God's packages
potem jaz dajem božje pakete,
and I get to give them to God's people.
dam to božjem ljudstvu
And if I go to the door
in če to dostavim do vrat,
and I knock on the door
trkam na vrata,
and they open the door
odprejo vrata,
and they take the package
vzamejo paket
and they throw it on the ground and
in ga
stomp on it,
pomendrajo,
well, I don't take it personal.
tega ne jemljem osebno.
I'm not crushed.
Jaz nisem potrt,
I'm not angry or upset,
razburjen,
right? I'm not hurt
nisem
for
prizadet
myself
zase,
because it wasn't my package,
ker ni šlo za moj paket.
right? And I have no expectations for myself in giving the gift.
Zato nimam pričakovanj zase, ko darilo dajem.
And so therefore I'm not upset if you I'm not upset for myself when you destroy the gift.
Zato tudi nisem upset.
I'm not,
Razburjen zase, ko to darilo dajem, ko se to zgodi.
right? But to the degree to which I love you
Ampak do te mere, do katere te ljubim,
is the degree to which I'm concerned for you,
je tudi ta mera, do katere v bistvu skrbim za tebe, me skrbi zate,
that I hurt for you
da trpim za tebe
and I want to help you
in ti želim pomagati,
so that you're free,
da bi ti bil svoboden,
so that you can accept the good and not reject it.
da bi ti lahko sprejel tisto dobro in tega ne zavrnil.
But I do it all for your sake, not mine.
Ampak to vse počnem zaradi tebe, ne zaradi mene.
And when I am a child of God,
In ko sem Božji otrok,
then I'm dependent upon Him,
sem odvisen od njega
and He is good,
in on je seveda dober,
and I can rely upon Him,
na njega se lahko zanesem.
and now I don't have to be a slave to others.
In sedaj nisem več služen, ne rabim biti služen drugim.
Right? In my usual fallen condition,
V mojem padlem stanju
I have to modify how I behave around others
moram spreminjati način obnašanja odvisno od tega, kdo je z mano.
so that they will accept me,
Da bi me sprijeli,
or they'll think well of me,
da bodo dobro mislili o meni,
or they won't reject me,
ali pa da me ne bodo zavrnili.
right? And so on. And so now I'm subject to manipulation.
Tako kar naenkrat postanem del manipulacije.
And if there are people in my life
In če so ljudje tako v mojem življenju
and they don't respond well to good manipulation,
in se ne odzivajo dobro na dobro manipulacijo,
then there's more evil manipulation.
potem je več slabe manipulacije.
I mean, it's all evil anyways, but
Sicer je manipulacija vsa hudobna,
but it seems more evil,
ampak se nam zdi bolj hudobna.
right? And now I have to threaten them
Zdaj moram groziti,
and so on in order to try to keep them as my source,
da bi jih tako lahko obdržal kot svoj vir.
right? And as long as I see them as possessing something I need,
In dokler te ljudi vidim kot nekaj, ki imajo nekaj, kar potrebuje,
then I'm motivated to do things to try to keep them.
potem sem motiviran k temu, da storim reči, da bi jih tudi obdržal.
If you leave me, I'll kill you.
Če me zapustiš, te bom ubil.
Or if you leave me, I'll kill myself.
Ali pa če me zapustiš, bom ubil sebe.
Right? Or if you think you can get away,
Ali pa če misliš, da mi lahko pobegneš,
I know where your family lives,
vem, kje imaš družino
and I'll go after them.
in šel bom za njim, po njih.
And as long as they believe that you can control something that they need,
In dokler oni verujejo, da vi lahko nadzirate nekaj, kar vi potrebujete,
then they're inclined to remain.
potem bodo tudi ostali v tem stanju.
Right? Either for the good that you give in between the beatings,
Pa naj bo to tisto dobro, ki ga dajete vmes med temi tepeži, ko
or
se tepe,
for fear of what will happen if you leave.
ali pa iz strahu pred tem, kaj se bo zgodilo, če bi to osebo zapustili.
But if I know the truth,
Če pa poznam resnico,
that I'm a child of God,
sem Božji otrok
right? And He's my source,
in je on moj vir,
now I behave in a way that's consistent with Him.
potem se jaz obnašam na način, ki je bolj skladen z njim.
And if you like that,
In če vam je to všeč,
okay.
super.
If you don't like it,
Če tega ne marate,
okay.
tudi v redu.
If you accept me,
Če sprejmete mene,
okay.
v redu.
If you don't accept
Če me
me,
ne sprejmete, v
okay.
redu.
Right? I'm not dependent upon how you respond.
Nisem odvisen od tega, kako se vi odzivate.
I am how I am because He's my source,
Sem kakršen sem, zato ker je on moj vir.
and He's good and He's caring.
In on je dober in on skrbi.
So I will be good and caring
Torej bom tudi jaz dober in skrbeč,
regardless of what you're like.
ne glede na to, kakšni ste vi.
So I'm not going to be a slave to you,
Torej ne bom služen vam,
but I will always be good to you.
bom pa vedno dober do vas.
Right? And if I'm a child of God
In če sem Božji
and
otrok
He's my source,
in je on moj vir,
I don't have other people as my source.
nimam drugih ljudi za svoj vir.
So there's absolutely no motivation to use any form of force or coercion on somebody else.
Torej potem ni niti motivacija, da bi na kakšni drugi osebi uporabil silo ali manipulacijo.
And if I'm this person
In če sem jaz ta oseba
and I have God as my source,
in imam Boga kot svoj
then
vir,
I know that God controls everything, not others.
potem tudi vem, da Bog vse nadzira in ne drugi.
I know that my life and my safety is in His hands, not His.
Potem vem, da je moje življenje in moja varnost v njegovih rokah in ne.
And if God says go,
In če Bog reče pojdi,
I go,
potem grem.
knowing that God will take care of it,
Vem, da bo Bog poskrbel za vse.
right? And I don't live a life of fear,
Tako ne živim življenja strahu.
right? And when you know the truth,
In ko poznate resnico,
when you have God as your source,
ko imate Boga za svoj vir,
when He possesses and controls everything that you need,
ko je on lastnik in nadzira vse, kar potrebujete,
then nobody else can ever threaten you
potem vam nihče ne more groziti.
because you're not afraid that they can take away something that you need.
Ker se ne bojite, da bi vam lahko vzeli to, kar potrebujete.
Because God is the one that's in control.
Ker je on tisti, ki ima kontrolo.
And He has my best interest in mind.
In on ima moje najboljše interese v svojih mislih. Ja.
Right? And if I'm in a situation
In če sem jaz v situaciji
and I'm told that I have to do something
in mi je povedano, da moram nekaj delati,
in order to continue to receive a paycheck,
da bi nadaljno dobival plačo,
and if I don't do that thing,
in če te reči ne počnem,
then they will cut me off from my paycheck,
me bodo odrezali, ne bom imel plače,
and I won't be able to buy food and a home and so on.
ne bom mogel plačati položnic in hrane.
Well, when I know the truth,
Ampak ko poznam resnico,
then I'm never under pressure
potem nisem pod pritiskom.
because I know that they cannot remove from me my livelihood
Ker vem, da mi ne morejo odstraniti mojega živeža,
because that belongs to God, not them.
ker to pripada Bogu, ne njim.
Now, yeah, God might be using them as the channel to supply my needs right now,
Ja, morda Bog uporablja njih kot kanal, zato da lahko izpolni moje potrebe.
but if they cut off that channel,
Ampak če oni odrežejo ta kanal,
that's not the only one.
to ni edini kanal.
God has other ways of supplying my needs,
Bog ima drugačne načine, da poskrbi za moje potrebe.
like with Israel.
Kot v Izraelu.
He cut them off from Egypt.
Odrezal jih je iz Egipta,
He took them to a place where money was useless.
privedel jih je na kraj, kjer denar ni imel več pomena.
I mean, how much money are you going to give for water when there is no water,
Koliko denarja bi dali za vodo, ko ni vode?
and for food when there is no food,
Za hrano, ko ni hrane.
right? And God proved that he could supply their needs
In Bog je dokazal, da lahko poskrbi za njihove potrebe.
without any of the normal resources that they thought were available.
Brez tistih rednih virov, ki so včasih mislili, da so na voljo.
Right? And when you know that,
In ko to veste,
oh, you're free.
potem ste svobodni.
And nobody can pressure you.
In vas tako nihče ne more stiskati, pod pritisk spravljati.
In my normal fallen nature,
V moji padli naravi
I have other people as my source,
imam druge ljudi kot svoj vir
and I need them.
in potrebujem jih.
And if they threaten to leave,
In če mi grozijo, da me bodo zapustili,
oh, I try to hold on.
ojoj, se jih oklenem.
I cannot lose them.
Ne smem jih izgubiti.
But in the truth,
V resnici pa,
when I have God as my source,
če imam Boga kot svoj vir,
anybody can walk away
lahko kdorkoli samo odkoraka,
because I still have my source.
ker imam še vedno svoj vir.
And I don't have to try to force them to remain.
In ni potrebno, da bi jih silil, da ostanejo.
I leave them free to make their own choices.
Svobodno jih pustim, naj se odločajo sami.
And I always seek to act in a loving way towards them.
In vedno se ljubeče tudi obnašam do njih.
Right? Now, God has a buffet,
Bog ima svojo mizo
and it has all sorts of stuff on it,
in različne stvari so na tej mizi.
right? And they're very good things,
Dobre reči.
right? And you may have heard you are what you eat.
Morda ste že slišali izrek, ste to, kar jeste.
Physically, it's true.
Fizično to drži,
It takes a little time.
nekaj časa traja sicer,
But when it comes to spiritual information,
ampak ko pride do duhovnih
it's
informacij,
fast,
je to zelo hitro.
right? It's fast. You take it,
Vzamete,
you got it,
imate
and immediately you can begin to give
in
it,
takoj lahko dajete naprej.
right? So if you come to God's buffet
Če pridete na to mizo od Boga,
and it has all of these things,
ima vse te reči,
well, now you get to take them,
zdaj jih lahko vzamete,
you've got them,
imate jih
and immediately you can begin to give them,
in takoj lahko pričnete to dajati naprej.
right? Beautiful.
Čudovito.
Now his buffet is open every day, all day.
Njegov bife je odprt vsak dan, ves dan, vse dni.
He says,
Piše, nikakor te ne bom pustil samega, nikakor te ne bom zapustil.
right? He's always there,
Vedno je tam,
always with you.
vedno je z vami.
It's never closed.
Nikoli ni zaprt bife.
You never go to God and the doors are shut,
Nikoli ne prijete k Bogu, da bi bila vrata zaprta.
right? It's always fully stocked.
Vedno je dobro založeno.
He says,
Pravi, ljubil sem te z večno ljubeznijo, zato sem te pritegnil z ljubeznivostjo.
right? Everlasting.
Za vekovo.
It doesn't run out.
Vedno traja, ne zmanjka
Right.
tega.
You want it?
Če si želite,
Somebody's not going to come before you and empty God of the last bit of what you needed.
ne bo nekdo prišel pred vami in bo vse pobral tisto, kar vi potrebujete.
You know, like you go to the restaurant and somebody took the last bit of your favorite dish.
Kot recimo v restauraciji, ko nekdo vzame vašo najljubšo jed in je bil zadnji kos,
You know, and you're like, oh, man.
recimo avokado.
No, that'll never happen.
Ne, to se ne bo zgodilo.
It's an eternal supply,
Tukaj je neskončen vir
and it's always free.
in vedno je zastojn.
He says,
Pravi on, o vsi, ki ste žejni, pridite k vodi in vi, ki nimate denarja, pridite, kupite in jejte. Pridite, kupite brez denarja, brez plačila, vino in mleko.
now it costs,
Nekaj stane,
but he paid for it,
ampak on je za to plačal.
so you could get in free,
Tako da lahko vi vstopite brezplačno.
right? So at any time,
Torej, kadarkoli,
under any circumstance,
pod katerimkoli pogoji,
he's
situacijah,
there and he's available.
je on tam in je na voljo.
But as you and I know,
Ampak, kar mi vemo,
he's not the only option.
on ni edina opcija.
There's a lot of other buffets out there,
Obstajajo še druge mize z možnostmi.
and you run into them and everybody that you see,
In tudi te srečate in vse ljudje, ki jih srečate.
and they offer other things,
In ta druga miza ponuja druge reči.
right? And some of it looks nice,
Nekatere stvari se nam zdijo zanimive, dobre,
but it goes along with a lot of things that are not nice.
ampak s tem pridejo tudi stvari druge, ki niso tako dobre.
Now, if I'm eating from somebody else's buffet,
Če jem od nekoga drugega mize,
then if they're up, I'm up.
če so oni dobre volje, sem tudi jaz dobre volje.
If they're down, oh,
So
I'm
oni
down.
potrti, sem tudi jaz potrt.
And I can be controlled by them.
In tako me oni v bistvu lahko kontrolirajo.
You know, let's say that you were having a good day and you came home,
Recimo, da ste imeli dober dan in pridete domov.
And your spouse meets you there.
In vas vaš soprog tam
And your spouse is like, why do you have that smile on your face?
in vam reče, zakaj si tako vesel?
Oh, you are so despicable.
Kako si beden.
I can't stand seeing you.
Ne prenašam te, kad te gledam.
Why didn't you die in the car on the way home?
Zakaj nisi umrl v avtu na poti sem?
If you're just going to be here and be a burden to my life,
Če boš sam breme mojemu življenju.
you're probably going to want me to do X, Y, or Z and all that
Boš
kind of
verjetno
stuff.
želel, da delam to in ono in levo.
If you walk into a situation like that,
Če pridete v tako situacijo,
how long is it before you're like,
kako dolgo bo trajalo, da tudi vaš duh pade?
it doesn't take very long,
Ne bo dolgo,
right? Because they're your source.
zato ker so oni vaš vir.
And if that's what they're giving,
In če je to, kar dajejo,
that's what you take.
to tudi jemljete,
That's what you've got.
to imate.
And now that's going to be what you give.
In to je to, kar vi dajete naprej.
Now remember,
Zapomnite si,
God's buffet is available all times under all circumstances.
Božji bifet je na voljo ves čas pod vsemi pogoji.
So in any circumstance or any situation,
V kakršnikoli situaciji in dogodku,
my outcome is not dependent upon what the other people around me are like.
moj odziv ni odvisen od tega, kakšni ljudje so okoli mene.
My outcome is dependent upon which buffet I eat from.
Moj odziv je odvisen od tega, iz katerega bifeja jem.
Right? Am I going to eat from his buffet
Bom jedel od Božjega bifeja,
and get all that stuff and live from it?
dobil vse te reči in živel od tega,
Or am I going to eat from their buffet and get all of that stuff and live from it?
ali pa bom jedel iz bifeja drugih ljudi okoli mene in to potem nosil.
God does not want us eating down here.
Bog ne želi, da jemo tu spodaj.
He wants us eating up here,
On si želi, da bi jedli tam zgoraj.
but we are self-governing.
Ampak mi to nadziramo.
And so he can't force us.
Zato nas ne more prisiliti.
But when you eat here,
Ampak če jeste tu zgoraj,
it feels good.
se nam zdi dobro.
It works out well.
Tudi dobro se izteče.
When you eat down here,
Če jeste tu spodaj,
at the beginning it seems like it feels good,
na začetku se morda zdi, da je dober okus,
but then you get a really bad bellyache,
potem vas pa začne želodec boleti.
right? And you're eventually going to be vomiting all over others,
In na koncu boste bruhali po drugih.
right? And the consequences of this begin to convince you,
In posledice tega vas začnejo prepričevati,
oh, this is not working eating here.
to ni dobra stvar, če tukaj jemo.
And when you find out there's another option,
In ko ugotovite, da obstaja še drug bifet,
then you start desiring that other option.
potem pač si začnete krepeneti po tej boljši opciji.
Now, in the life of Jesus,
V Jezusovem življenju pa
we see that he always ate from here.
vidimo, da je vedno jedel tu zgoraj.
He never ate from here.
Nikoli ni jedel tu spodaj.
He always ate from his Father.
Vedno je imel od očeta,
He didn't eat from other people.
ni jedel od drugih ljudi.
And we see that in this passage.
To vidimo tudi v tem odlomku. A Jezus se jim ni zaupal, ker je vse poznal in ker ni potreboval, da bi mu kdo o kom kaj povedal. Zakaj sam je vedel, kaj je v človeku.
Right? So trust is what binds you to your source.
Torej, zaupanje je tisto, kar vas naveže, priveže k vašemu viru.
He did not entrust himself to people,
On se ni predal z zaupanjem v ljudi,
but he did entrust himself to his Father.
se je pa zaupal očetu.
And his Father said,
In njegov oče je rekel, ta je moj ljubljeni sin, nad katerim imam veselje.
right? So he belonged to his Father.
Bil je očetova last,
His Father loved him,
oče ga je ljubil
and his Father was satisfied with him.
in oče je bil vesel nad njim.
And no matter what circumstance or situation Jesus was under,
In ne glede na okolišče in situacije, v katerih je Jezus bil,
no matter what people were saying about him and doing to him,
ne glede na to, kaj so ljudje o njemu govorili ali počeli z njim,
this remained in his mind.
je to ostalo v njegovih mislih.
And he had a confidence
In imel je zaupanje
and a stability
in stabilnost,
that nobody else could shake.
ki je nihče drug ni mogel pretresti.
Because this word from his Father would never change.
Ker ta beseda od njegovega očeta se nikoli ne bo spremenila.
And so you and I have the same privilege.
Tudi mi imamo isti privilegij.
Because when God the Father said this to Jesus,
Ker ko je oče to rekel svojemu sinu Jezusu,
he did so as Jesus was our representative.
je to storil kot Jezus, kot naš predstavnik.
And as we talked about last night with the cross,
In ko smo včeraj govorili o križu,
when we get to come and exchange our life with the life of Christ,
Ko zamenjamo svoje življenje z Jezusovim življenjem
then when I have the life of Christ,
in ko imam jaz Jezusovo življenje,
then this is absolutely true of me.
potem to velja absolutno tudi za mene.
The Father looks at me,
Oče gleda na mene,
He loves me,
me ljubi,
I belong to Him,
sem njegova last,
He's completely satisfied,
on je popolnoma zadovoljen z mano.
right? And when I know that,
In ko to vem
and I hold on to that,
in se tega držim,
regardless of what other people are saying around
ne
me,
glede na to, kaj drugi pravijo okoli mene,
oh, there's a confidence,
potem imamo samozavest,
there's a stability,
stabilnost
and nobody can drag you down.
in nihče vas ne more potegniti dol.
Oh, it's beautiful,
Čudovito.
right? Now, if I'm a child of God,
Torej, če sem Božji otrok,
then I expect good from God,
torej pričakujem dobro od Boga.
right? And He is good,
In on tudi je dober.
and so now I'm content
In sedaj sem zadovoljen,
because I get what I need.
ker dobim to, kar potrebujem.
And there might be other people, and they might be toxic,
In morda tudi so drugi ljudje, ki so bolj toksični,
right? But if God is the one that's upstream from me,
ampak če je Bog nad rečnim potokom,
then I get to take what's good,
potem vzamem to, kar je dobro,
I have what's good,
imam, kar je
and I
dobro,
give what's
in
good
dajem to, kar je dobro,
to other people that might not be good.
tudi tistim ljudem morda, ki niso
And
dobri.
if they're not good,
In če niso dobri,
well, that's their problem.
to je njihov problem.
And it becomes the problem of anybody that's taking from them.
In lahko postane problem tudi tistih, ki jemljejo od njih.
But I have God as my
Ampak
source,
jaz imam Boga za vir.
and that works,
In to deluje.
right? Ah, it's nice.
Čudovito.
Paul learned
Pavel se je naučil in zato je napisal, jaz sem se namreč naučil zadovoljen biti s tem, kar imam.
right? He learned to be content in every circumstance
Zadovoljen v vseh okoliščinah,
because he learned the truth.
ker je spoznal resnico.
He knew who he was,
Vedel je, kdo je
and he knew who his heavenly Father was,
in vedel je, kdo je njegov nebeški oče.
right? And when I know the truth,
In ko poznam resnico,
I don't need my children or my spouse to be good for my sake.
ne potrebujem, da bi bili moji otroci ali moj soprog dobri do mene.
And yes, when they are distressed,
Ja, lahko so pod stresom.
I feel for them.
Lahko čutim, sočustvujem z njim.
And I want to do what I can to help them.
In lahko storim stvari, s katerimi jim lahko pomagam.
But I don't respond from a position or from a circumstance where I need them to be okay.
Ne rabim pa se odzivati strani, kjer pričakujem od njih, da bi oni morali dobro nazaj vračati.
Because if I need them to be okay, I'm going to put them under pressure.
Ker če jaz pričakujem od njih, da bi oni morali biti dobre volje, potem jih postavljam pod pritisk.
But if I don't need them to be okay,
Če pa ne potrebujem, da so oni dobre volje,
but I want them to be
ampak si
okay,
želim, da bi bili dobre volje,
now I can help them
potem jim lahko sedaj pomagam,
without putting them under pressure.
brez da bi jih dal pod pritisk.
I can be a living example in my own life,
Sam sem lahko živ primer s svojim življenjem,
and I can manifest compassion,
lahko kažem sočutje,
regardless of whether they're compassionate or not in the moment.
ne glede na to, ali so tudi oni sočutni ali ne.
And yes, it can be appropriate to give appropriate consequences,
In ja, seveda, primerno je tudi včasih dati primerne posledice.
but the consequences come in love, not in frustration.
Ampak posledice pridejo v ljubezni in ne iz jeze.
And they come for the best good of the child,
In za dobro otroka,
right? Not for my good,
ne za moje dobro.
right? And I do it in such a way that the child is going to be the most receptive to it.
In to storim na način, da bi otrok to najlažje sprejel.
Not because it seems to be the most convenient to me,
Ne zato, ker bi se meni zdelo najbolj priročno.
right? And I recognize that when they're behaving this way,
In prepoznam, da ko se ti obnašajo tako,
they're not free,
niso svobodni.
right? They're not free. They're captive.
Ujeti so.
And if they're captive,
In če so ujeti,
why would I expect them to behave like they're free?
zakaj bi potem od njih pričakoval, da se obnašajo, kot da so svobodni?
Right? If they're captive, I would expect them to behave like a captive.
Če so ujeti, potem lahko pričakujem, da se obnašajo kot nekdo, ki je ujet.
So I don't have these unfounded expectations or wrong expectations from others.
Tako nimam takih napačnih pričakovanj od drugih.
But when I know that they're captive,
Ampak ko vem, ko so ujeti,
in a way, excuse how they respond,
Na nek način opravičujem njihovo obnašanje,
but I want to help them to be free.
ampak želim jim pomagati, da bi se osvobodili.
Right? And if I'm a child of God,
Torej, če sem Božji otrok,
then what somebody else says and does,
kar drug pravi in stori,
it's not about me,
se ne gre za mene,
because I'm not my own.
ker jaz nisem samo svoj.
Right? So it's not personal.
Torej, ni osebno.
Right? I'm not personally hurt by what others say and do,
Nisem osebno prizadet s tem, kar drugi počnejo ali rečejo.
meaning I don't hurt for myself
To pomeni, da ne trpim sam zase.
when they say or do things,
Se ne smilim sam sebe, to, kar drugi rečejo ali pa storijo.
but I do hurt.
Ampak boli pa me.
I do feel the hurt,
Čutim bolečino,
but I feel it for them.
ampak čutim jo do njih.
Right? Now, if somebody didn't like you,
Če vas kdo ne mara, recimo,
and to get at you,
in da bi se vam maščeval,
they beat up your car,
razbijajo avto.
right? Now, clearly
Push out.
the car would sustain the damage,
Seveda avto bi trpel,
but it's not about the car,
ampak ne gre se za avto.
right? If you sold that car a couple of years ago,
Če bi ta avto pred parimi leti prodali,
well, they're not going to go after that car.
potem ne bi tega avta napadli.
They're going to go after whatever car you have now
Ampak tisto avto, ki ga imate danes,
because they're going after you,
ker se hočejo maščevati vam.
right? Now, there is a great war between Satan and God,
Obstaja ta veliki boj med Satanom in Bogom.
right? And Satan hates God.
Satan sovraži Boga.
And he knows that he can't get at God directly.
In on ve, da ne more direktno dostopati do Boga.
And so the only way he can get at God is by getting at God's children.
Edini način, da lahko trpinči Boga, je, da se znaša nad njegovimi otroki.
And he knows that every pain and every suffering that you and I experience
In on tudi ve, da vsako trpljenje in izkušnje grozne, ki jih imamo,
God experiences it as well,
jih tudi doživlja Bog.
right? And he knows that if he can cause you pain,
In on ve, da če vam povzroča bolečino,
he can cause God pain.
povzroča Bogu bolečino.
And it's not about you and it's not about me.
In ne gre se za vas ali za mene.
Satan has been going after God's children ever since the beginning.
Satan napada Božje otroke že od samega začetka.
And if you don't exist,
In če ne bi obstajali,
Satan's going to go after any of God's children that he can.
bi šel k drugim Božjim otrokom, katere pač lahko doseže.
And yes, in the meantime,
In ja, seveda, vsem tem
we
času
feel the pain,
čutimo bolečino,
but it's not about us,
ampak se ne gre za nas,
right? It's about something bigger.
za nekaj večjega.
It's about a war between Satan and God,
Gre se za to vojno med Satanom in Bogom.
and Satan trying to get at God,
In Satan, ki bi se rad maščeval Bogu.
right? And we're also told,
Rečeno nam je tudi, resnično povem vam, kar ste storili kateremu izmed teh mojih najmanjših bratov, ste meni storili.
right? So, God says, if you have done it to somebody else,
Bog torej pravi, če ste storili nekaj nekomu,
you've done it to me,
to ste storili meni,
because I feel it.
ker jaz to čutim.
And that was my child that you did it to.
In to je moj otrok, kateremu ste to storili.
They belong to me.
On je moja last.
And so in reality, you did it to me.
Torej, v realnosti ste to storili meni.
But the opposite is true as well.
In tudi obratno velja.
If they do it to me,
Če oni to storijo meni,
they're doing it to him,
to delajo njemu.
right? And so when I recognize that,
In ko to prepoznamo,
I recognize it's not about me.
prepoznamo, da se ne vrti okoli mene.
Now, they might add my name to it,
Lahko da tam piše moje ime,
and they might throw it in my direction,
lahko to zalučajo meni naproti,
but even then, it's not about me,
ampak tudi to se ne vrti okoli mene.
right? And besides,
In tudi
I can come to the cross,
lahko pridem do križa
and I can take Jesus' life as my own,
in lahko vzamem Jezusovo življenje kot
and
svoje.
he takes my life as his own,
In on vzamem moje življenje za svoje.
so that everything that was done to me,
Torej, da vse, kar se je zgodilo meni,
he takes as his own,
on vzame za
and he
svoje.
puts it to death in himself on the cross,
In usmrti to svojo smrtvijo na križu.
and it's no longer mine.
In ni več moja stvar.
So they didn't do it to me,
Torej, tega niso storili meni.
right? So God provides these ways to set us free from being the victim.
Bog je tako poskrbel za vse te načine, da bi nas osvobodil tega, da smo mi žrtev.
Now, if the cat knocks over the cup,
Torej, če maček prevrne glaš
and now there's water on the table,
in je sedaj voda na mizi,
how come it's water that's on the table?
zakaj je voda na mizi?
If you knock over the cup and there's tea on the table,
Če vi podrete skodelico in je potem čaj na mizi,
how come it's tea that's on the table?
zakaj je sedaj čaj na mizi?
If the earthquake shakes the table and the cup spills over,
Če je potres in se spet podre kozarček,
and now there's milk on the table,
mleko na mizi,
how come it's milk that's on the table?
zakaj je sedaj mleko na mizi?
And your friend knocks into the table,
Vaš prijatelj se zaleti v mizo,
and the cup spills over,
se polije
and now there's grape juice on the table.
in sedaj je grozdni sok na mizi,
How come it's grape juice that's on the table?
zakaj pa zdaj grozdni sok na mizi?
Ker je bil kozarec.
Yes. So it doesn't matter who knocked it over.
Ni važno, kdo je to podaril,
It doesn't matter how they knocked it over.
ni važno, kako je to bilo podrto ali na način.
All that can come out
Vse, kar lahko pride ven, je
is what's in there,
to, kar je bilo noter.
right? And with some of those cups, you can see what's in there before it knocks out.
Pri nekateri izmed teh nosilcev tekočine lahko vidite, kaj je noter.
But with you and me,
Z mano in vami
we don't see it when it's inside.
ne vidimo, kaj je notri.
We only see it when it comes out,
Vidimo samo, ko se izlije.
right? And so what's inside of me
To, kar je znotraj mene,
is what comes out of me,
je to, kar prihaja ven iz mene.
right? It couldn't come out if it wasn't already in there.
Ne bi moralo priti ven, če tega ne bi bilo v meni.
So if somebody is angry at me,
Če je nekdo jezen name,
well, that's their problem
je to njihov problem.
because it's their anger,
Ker je to njihova jeza.
and that's what's coming out.
In to tudi prihaja ven.
Now, I have the tendency to think their anger is my problem,
Jaz pa imam to tendenco, da si mislim, da je njihova jeza moj problem,
and so I take their problem personally.
zato jemljem njihov problem osebno.
And now I make their problem my problem.
In tako njihov problem storim za svoj problem.
But I have no right to make somebody else's problem my problem.
Ampak nimam pravice, da storim tuj problem za svoj problem.
Their problem is their problem.
Njihov problem je njihov problem.
The anger couldn't come out of them unless it was already in them.
Jeza ne bi mogla bruhati z njih, razen
And
če je že bila v njej.
yes, they can add my name to it,
Lahko dodajo tudi moje ime,
and
seveda,
they can throw it in my direction,
in ga vržejo v mojo smer,
but it's still not about me.
ampak še vedno se ne tiče mene,
It's about them,
ampak glede njih.
because it couldn't come out of them if it wasn't in them.
Ker ne bi moglo priti iz njih ven, če tega ne bi bilo v njih.
Well, Jesus said this,
Jezus pa je rekel tole. Zakaj iz tega, česar je polno srce, usta govori.
and Solomon said this,
Salomon pa tole. Varuj svoje srce z vso skrbnostjo, kajti iz njega izvirajo vsi življenjski problemi.
so the Bible's telling us
Biblija torej pravi,
it's not about me,
ne gre se za mene.
right? What somebody else says, what they do, how they say it, how they do it,
Kaj drugi pravijo, drugi delajo ali pa govorijo o meni in o onmu.
right? It's not about me,
Ne gre se za mene,
it's about them.
za njih se gre.
And yes, I can recognize that they have a problem,
Ja, seveda lahko prepoznam, da imajo problem
and I love them,
in ljubim jih
and I want them to be free from that problem,
in želim si, da bi bili svobodni.
and I hurt for them because they have the problem,
In trpim tudi z njimi, ker imajo ta problem,
but I don't make their problem my problem,
ampak njihovega problema ne naredim za svojega.
right? But you can only do that
To lahko storite samo,
when they're not your source.
ko oni niso vaš vir.
If they're your source,
Če so pa vaš vir,
you must take their words.
morate njihove besede vzeti.
You must take their anger.
Morate sprejeti njihovo jezo.
You must take it personally.
Morate to jemati osebno.
You have no choice.
Nimate izbire.
But if you have God as your source,
Pa imate Boga kot svoj vir.
and they're not your source,
In oni potem niso več vaš vir.
then you can't help it. You take everything that comes from God,
Potem si ne morete pomagati. Vse, kar potrebujete, jemljete od Boga
and now you don't have to take what comes from them.
in tako vam ni potrebno imati stvari, ki prihajajo od njih.
There's freedom there.
Svoboda v tem.
It's beautiful,
Čudovito.
right? Now, if you're in a situation
Če ste v situaciji,
and they're being mean and nasty,
so hudobni napram vam,
they're not speaking nicely,
ne govorijo lepo z vami,
you didn't get much sleep last night,
včeraj niste dovolj spali, zaradi
the
tega,
food did not settle well,
hrana se ni dobro prebavila
and you respond like this,
in se tako odzovete,
don't blame anything outside of you for that response,
ne krivite nikogar zunaj vas za tak odziv.
because it couldn't come out of you
Ker ne bi prišlo to ven iz vas,
if it wasn't already in you,
če ne bi že to bilo v vas.
right? So whenever you respond,
Torej, kadarkoli se odzovete,
pay attention to your own responses,
bodite pozorni na vaš odziv.
because it shows you what's in your own heart,
Če vam pokaže, kaj je v vašem srcu.
right? Don't pay so much attention to their stuff,
Ne koncentrirajte se toliko na njihove stvari,
because that's their problem,
ker to je njihov problem.
and only they and God can really fix it.
In samo oni in Bog lahko to popravijo.
Yeah, you can pray for them and you can help them,
Lahko molite za njih in pomagate, seveda.
right? And do what you can, but you can't actually fix it.
Kar lahko, seveda, ampak ne morete jih pa popraviti.
But the things that come out of you,
Stvari pa, ki prihajajo iz vas samih,
you and God,
to pa je stvar med vami in Bogom.
you can work on that.
To lahko delate z Bogom.
And it's something that can be fixed.
In to je nekaj, kar se da popraviti.
Right? And if I have God as my source,
In če je Bog moj vir,
then it's not mine.
potem ni moje.
I'm not the owner.
Jaz nisem lastnik.
I'm just the steward of what belongs to God.
Samo skrbnik sem tega, kar pripada Bogu.
And if it's not mine,
In če ni moje,
I can't lose it.
tega ne morem izgubiti.
And so I'm free from being at loss.
Tako sem svoboden tega strahu, da bi nekaj izgubil.
Right? So again, the law, God's law shows us we're to take from God and give to others,
Torej, Božji zakon nam kaže, da jemljemo od Boga kot vir in dajemo drugim,
to be dependent upon God,
da smo odvisni od njega,
and I give selflessly to others.
da lahko nesebično dajemo drugim.
But there's a law of sin,
Obstaja tudi zakon greha,
and it says no, take from others
ki pravi vzami od drugih,
in order to give to God.
da bi dal Bogu.
But I'm God,
Sicer v tem primeru sem jaz Bog.
and so I take in order to keep it to myself.
Torej jemljem zato, da bi obdržal zase.
Right? And so now I'm selfish,
Jaz sem sebičen
right? And I'm dependent upon people,
in odvisen od ljudi.
and the two of these are incompatible,
In te dve varianti sta nekompatibilni med
right?
seboj.
Completely contrary to each other.
Popolnoma nasprotni sta si.
And of course, we can look at our lives and we can say, okay, which one am I living?
Seveda lahko sami pogledamo svoje življenje in se vprašamo, kaj jaz živim.
Am I free
Sem svoboden
or am I captive?
ali sem ujet?
Right? Up here,
Tu zgoraj,
in relation to people,
v odnosu z ljudmi,
I'm a feeder,
jaz hranim.
right? And down here, in
Tu
relation to
spodaj, v
people,
odnosu z ljudmi,
I'm an eater.
sem jaz tisti, ki jem.
So the question is,
Vprašanje torej je,
do I eat from people
jem od ljudi
or do I feed people?
ali hranim ljudi?
Right? Am I an eater or a feeder?
Sem tisti, ki je ali tisti, ki hrani?
Now, if I'm an eater,
Če sem tisti, ki je,
I have people as my source.
potem imam ljudi za svoj vir.
If I'm a feeder,
Če sem tisti, ki hrani,
I have God as my
je
source.
Bog moj vir.
If I'm an eater,
Če sem tisti, ki je,
I'm dependent upon people.
sem odvisen od drugih ljudi.
And if I'm a feeder, I'm dependent upon God.
In če hranim, sem odvisen od Boga.
If I'm an eater, I have expectations for myself.
Če jem, potem imam pričakovanja za sebe,
I'm selfish.
sebičen.
And if I'm a feeder, I have expectations for others.
In če hranim, imam pričakovanja za druge,
I'm unselfish.
nesebičen.
If I'm an eater,
Če sam jem,
I pity myself when things go wrong.
sam sebe pomilujem, ko stvari ne grejo po mojih načrtih.
And if I'm a feeder, I pity others when things go wrong.
In če sem tisti, ki hrani, potem se žalostim za druge, ko gredo stvari narobe.
If I'm an eater,
Če sem tisti, ki je,
I'm hurt or disappointed for myself.
sem prizadet in razočaran nad seboj.
And if I'm a feeder, I'm hurt and disappointed for you.
In obratno, sem razočaran in zaradi vas.
So let's run through a few scenarios
Poglejmo se nekaj primerov,
and see how this works in real life.
da vidimo, kako to praktično v življenju izgleda.
All right, so here we have scenario number 1.
Prvi primer,
And she has arrived
prišla je
early,
zgodaj,
and she's waiting for him to arrive.
čaka, da prideš on,
And it's now 20 minutes past when the date should have started.
in že 20 minut je minilo, odkar naj bi se začel zmek.
And she finds out on social media that he is not going to be coming.
In na socialnih medijih ugotovi, da on ne bo prišel.
Right? He's not dead.
Ni umrl,
He's not injured,
ni poškodovan,
but he's not coming.
ampak ne bo ga.
Right? So how does she feel?
Kako se torej ona počuti? Razočarana. Prevarano, žalostno.
Yeah. Okay, so she's going to be jealous.
Torej,
She's
ljubosumna
going to be
bo,
disappointed,
razočarana,
right? She's going to be hurt.
prizadeta,
She's going to feel rejected.
zavrnjena se bo počutila.
Angelis. Angelis. Don't forget something this morning. Yeah. And so she's going to feel all of these different ways,
Tako se bo počutila na vse te različne načine.
right? So if she feels that way, is she a feeder or is she an eater?
Torej, če ima take občutke, kaj potem ona je? Tista, ki hrani ali tista, ki se hrani? Tista, ki je ali tista, ki daje za jesti?
Yeah, she's an eater,
Da, ona je tista, ki je.
right? She went on the date
Šla je na zmenek
with an expectation
s pričakovanjem,
of what she might receive.
kaj bo lahko iz tega dobila.
And when he didn't show up,
In ko njega ni bilo,
she couldn't get what she needed.
ni dobila tega, kar je potrebovala.
And now she's the one at loss.
In sedaj je ona na izgubi.
And her disappointment and her pity is for herself.
In njeno razočaranje in pomilovanje je za njo samo.
But let's say that she was a feeder.
Pa rečemo, da je scenarij obraten, da je
She
ona
has
tista,
God
ki
as her
hrani.
source.
Ima Boga kot svoj
She
vir.
takes from him.
Jemlje od Boga.
She fills up with what he
Napolni
has.
se s tem, kar ima Bog.
She has joy giving to others.
Ima veselje drugim dajati.
And she had expectations that she would give good things to him when he comes.
In ima tudi pričakovanja, da bi, ko bi on prišel, bi mu dala dobre stvari.
And he doesn't come.
In on potem ne pride.
And she's worried about him.
Skrbi ga,
You know,
skrbijo za njega.
could be an accident or something.
Nesreča ali kaj, ne ve.
And she finds out on social media
In ugotovi na socialnih medijih,
he's safe and he's not coming.
da je varen, ampak da ga ne bo.
How does she feel?
Kako bi se počutila?
Okay.
Happy.
Yeah, she's happy he's not hurt.
Srečna, da ni poškodovan.
She's disappointed for him
Razočarana je za njega,
that he is not being faithful.
da ni zvest.
And she has a disappointment
In razočarana je tudi,
that she's not able to give to him
da mu ne more dati.
and he's not able to benefit from what she intended to give during the date.
In ona ne more predati mu tistega koristnega, kar bi njemu koristilo.
But her disappointment and her hurt is not for herself,
Ampak njeno razočaranje in bolečine ni za njo samo,
it's for him.
ampak za njega.
Right? All right, I don't have to describe this.
Drug primer.
Right.
Vse ga razumete, ne?
So, how does father feel?
Kako se oče v tem primeru počuti?
Betrayed?
Izdan. He has no words.
Okay. Yes. Maybe he's frustrated.
Morda je frustrated. Malce jezen oziroma razočaran.
Might be angry,
Morda celo jezen.
right? Right now, he's probably feeling like grabbing his son's fingers
Zdaj si morda misli, da bi prijel od sina prste in jih potegnil ven,
and pulling them out of his ears
potegnil ven iz ušes
and forcing him to listen to what he has to say.
in ga nekako prisilil, da ga posluša.
Right? Well, in that case, is he a feeder or an eater?
V tem primeru je on kaj? Je ali tisti, ki hrani?
Yeah, he's an eater,
Jedač.
right? And his son is his source,
Sin kot njegov vir
and he needs his son to be good,
in potrebuje, da njegov sin dober.
and his son isn't good,
In če sin ni dober,
and so now he has to force him to be good,
ga mora sedaj prisiliti, da bi bil dober.
right? And he's going to feel under pressure
In on bo ta trenutek bil pod pritiskom,
in order to fix him,
da bi njega spremenil.
and so father's going to put the son under pressure.
Torej bo on začel pritiskati na svojega sina.
Now, what if he was a feeder?
Kaj pa, če bi bil on tist, ki hrani?
He comes to God,
Pride k Bogu,
takes all he needs,
vzame vse, kar
fills
potrebuje,
up with what God
se
has,
napolni s tem, kar Bog ponuja.
gives those good things to others,
Daje te dobre stvari drugim,
including his son.
tudi svojemu sinu.
And now his son responds like this.
In sedaj se sin takole odzove.
How does he feel?
Kako se počuti?
What's that?
Žaljen, disappointed, sad.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yes. Sad that his son is in this condition.
Žalosten, ker je sin v takem stanju.
Yeah. Who does the father think has a problem?
Kaj mislite, kdo, za koga ima oče meni, da je problem, da ima problem?
Yeah, the son has the problem,
Sin ima problem, ja?
right? But the son belongs to God the Father,
Ampak sin je Božja last.
and he's only the steward of this child that belongs to God.
On je samo skrbnik tega otroka, ki pripada Bogu.
So as the delegated authority in relation to the son,
Torej kot delegirana avtoriteta, ki jo ima v odnosu z njegovim sinom,
he gets to turn to the authority,
se obrne k pravi avtoriteti,
to the owner, and say, okay, what do you want me to do?
k lastniku in ga vpraša, ok, kaj naj storim?
Right? Because you know his heart.
Ti poznaš njegovo srce,
You know what will reach him.
ti veš, kaj ga bo doseglo.
How do you want me to respond in a way that will reach him?
Kako želiš, da se odzovem, da bi ga dosegel?
Because clearly he's not free right now.
Ker očitno je, da sedaj ni svoboden.
He's captive.
Ujet je.
And so how do we reach the captive in order to help set him free?
Kako torej dosežemo tega, ki je ujet, da bi ga lahko osvobodili?
Right? And sometimes it means you don't address the issue right now.
Včasih to pomeni tudi, da se ta trenutek ne soočamo s tem problemom.
If he's in this mood,
Če je on te volje,
sometimes it's better just to walk away
včasih je bolje, da samo odkorakamo.
and then address it later when he's in a better frame of mind.
In se pogovorimo o tem, ko je bolj sproščen
But he's not under pressure,
On pa ni pod pritiskom.
and he's not going to put him under pressure.
In tudi njega ne bo stiskal.
Right? Yes, consequences may come,
Ja, seveda posledice bodo.
but not to force him to behave a certain way,
Ampak ne, da bi ga prisilile, da se obnaša na določen način.
but simply as the effect of having made certain choices.
Ampak preprosto kot učinek, ker je sprejel določene
Right.
odločitve.
All right, next scenario.
Še en primer.
This is a hard one.
Ta je malo težji primer.
Right. Right. So, this has been going on for 6 months.
To se dogaja že 6 mesecev.
She is the maid of honor in their wedding.
To je poročna priča.
Right. And she finds out, right?
Prva spremljevalka.
Uh-huh. Yes. And she finds out that this is happening.
In žena ugotovi, da se to dogaja.
How does she feel?
Kako se bo počutila? Jezna.
Yes. Angry. Yes. Like 12-gauge shotgun angry.
S puško. Jezna s puško.
All right. Which is?
Angry with a gun.
Yes. Uh-huh. How else does she feel?
Kako se še počuti?
Betrayed.
Yes. Betrayed.
Izdano.
Right. Yeah. She shattered.
A je raztreščena.
You know, life is now falling apart.
Življenje razpada na koste.
Right. All right. When she feels that way,
Ko se ona tako počuti,
is she an eater or a feeder?
a ona je tista, ki je ali tista, ki hrani?
No, she's an eater,
Ja, ona je tista, ki je.
right? So she married him,
Z njim se je poročila
and she had an expectation
in imela pričakovanja,
that he would love her,
da jo bo on ljubil,
that he would respect her,
da jo bo spoštoval,
that he would be faithful to
da bo
her,
zvest,
that he would be faithful until death.
zvest do smrti.
And she had all of these expectations from him
In vsa ta pričakovanja je imela od njega
in the marriage.
v tej poroki, tej zvezi.
And now she has found out it's
Sedaj
not
je
true.
ugotovila, da to ni tako.
And now her expectations are devastated.
Sedaj so se njena pričakovanja razsula.
So now who is she hurt for?
Torej, za koga jo zdaj boli?
For herself.
Zase.
Right. Yes. Now, what if she was a feeder?
Kaj pa, če bi bila tista, ki hrani?
What if she had God as her source?
Če bi imela Boga kot svoj vir,
She was taking everything she needed from Him,
jemlja vse, kar potrebuje od
filling
Boga,
up and full with God's love.
se napolnila in se napolnila z Božjo ljubeznijo.
And with that love,
In s to
she
ljubeznijo
had expectations of good for others.
bi imela pričakovanja
And-
oziroma bi delala in pričakovanja
And
za
so
druge dobro,
she went into marriage
se poročila,
so that she would give love,
da bi dajala ljubezen,
so that she would be faithful,
da bi bila zvesta,
so that she would be a help,
da bi bila pomoč.
right? And now she finds out about this.
Sedaj pa je ugotovila za to.
How does she feel?
Kako se počuti? Betrayed? He said, still the gun?
Okay. Okay. Yes. This is a hard one for us to think through
To je težka za nas, da si predstavljamo,
because it's very emotional,
ker je zelo emocionalno.
right? So, if she has God as her source,
Če ima Boga za svoj vir
and her expectation is in the marriage is that she will be faithful,
in če je njeno pričakovanje v tej zakonski zvezi, da bo ona zvesta,
then when she finds out about this,
potem ko odkrije za to drugo zvezo,
is she still being faithful?
a je ona še vedno zvesta?
Yeah.
Ja.
Yes, sure. Is she still being loving?
Je še vedno ljubeča?
Yeah.
Ja.
All right. Does the law of God ever allow you to not love someone?
Ali vam Božji zakon kdajkoli dovoljuje, da nekoga ne ljubite?
Or does the law show us that we love everyone all the time?
Ali nam zakon kaže, da vsekdar nekoga ljubimo, vedno ljubimo?
Does the law ever give an exception to loving someone else?
Ali je kakšna izjema v tem zakonu, da nekoga ne bi ljubili?
No.
Ni.
No. But when we're an eater
Ampak ko smo tisti, ki jemo
and she finds out about this,
in odkrije to,
guess what?
kaj potem?
She can't love him anymore,
Ga ne more več ljubiti.
right? Now she has to try to control him.
Zdaj ga more poskusati stisniti.
If she wants to continue in the relationship,
Seveda, če želi ta odnos ohraniti,
she has to control him.
ga more stisniti,
She has to
kontrolirati,
force him.
prisiliti,
She has to fix him.
popraviti ga.
She has to chase her off,
On jo more spoditi.
right? And so on. And she's under a lot of pressure,
Tako je ona pod veliko pritiska
and there's all sorts of conflict and stress.
in veliko konflikta in stresa je pri tem.
But when she has God as her source,
Če pa ima Boga kot svoj
and
vir
she's taking from Him,
in jemlje od njega,
nobody can take away what God gives.
nihče ne more odvzeti tega, kar je Bog dal.
And now she can love Him even when He's not lovely.
Sedaj ga lahko ljubi tudi, ko ni on ljubeč.
She can be faithful even if He's not being faithful.
Zvesta je lahko tudi, ko on ni zvest.
She can respect even though He's not respectable.
Lahko ga spoštuje tudi, če on ni spoštljiv.
And there's nothing that causes her to stop loving.
In ni stvari, ki bi lahko povzročili, da ga ona ne bi ljubila.
And she recognizes that he's not, or they are not doing what they're doing because they're free.
In prepozna, da ona dva to počneta zato, ker nista svobodna.
They're doing what they're doing because they're captive.
Zato, ker sta ujeta.
And she hurts for them.
In zato jo boli za njiju.
And she wants them to be free.
In želi si, da bi bila svobodna.
And what she needs to do in order to help them to freedom, she's happy to do.
In kar je na njej, da lahko stori, da bi ona dva se osvobodila, je voljna to tudi storiti.
And she doesn't put him under pressure.
Tudi njega ne postavlja pritisk.
She says, okay,
Pravi v redu.
I recognize you're in a captive situation now.
Prepoznavam, da si v ujetem stanju.
And these decisions are not good.
In te odločitve niso dobre.
They're hurting you.
Tebi povzročajo bolečino.
They're hurting her.
Njej.
It's going to hurt the reputation,
Tudi ugled
you
bo
know, and so
škodoval.
on. Others are going to be affected by this too.
Tudi drugi bodo prizadeti
Right.
z tega.
I'm willing
Jaz sem voljna,
for us to continue to pursue a relationship together
da midva še naprej nadaljujeva odnos.
if you're willing to pursue a relationship with me.
Če si še ti naprej voljen imeti odnos z menoj.
But you have to break that,
Ampak ta vez se mora prekiniti.
and it needs to be broken for good.
In to zavedno.
But the choice is yours,
Ampak izbira je tvoja.
right? And you're free to choose that if
In
you want
svobodno
to,
lahko izbereš to, če želiš.
right? So she doesn't try to take over his self-government.
Torej, ona ne poskuša, da bi nadvladala
She
njegovo samovlado,
just tries to help him to see
ampak poskuša mu pomagati, da bi on videl,
how he is not self-governing well.
kako on svojo samovlado ne uporablja dobro.
And it may be best
In morda je najbolje
for her
za njo,
to leave
da ga zapusti.
for his sake. I mean, for his
Zaradi
sake,
njega.
right? But she won't leave in order to protect herself.
Ampak ona v tem primeru ne bo zapustila njega zato, da bi sebe zaščitila.
She would leave because she thinks it's for his good.
Ampak bi ga zapustila zato, ker meni, da je to dobro za njega.
And so the decision is an unselfish decision,
Torej, odločitev je nesebična.
not a selfish one.
In torej, ni sebična.
Right. Yeah. And last scenario,
In zadnji primer,
how does she feel?
kako se počuti? Destroyed.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. From the pictures, we can see that she married a man in the military.
Iz slik lahko vidimo, da se je poročila z vojakom.
There's a little baby.
Ima dojenčka,
That's his tomb
to je grob
stone.
njegov.
And now she's going to be a single mother with the child.
In sedaj je samohranilka.
Right. So you can imagine how she would feel.
Lahko si predstavljate, kako se počuti.
Right. Now, is she feeling this way because she's an eater or a feeder?
Se tako počuti zaradi tega, ker je tista, ki je, ali tista, ki hrani? Both.
No, it
No.
can never be both.
No? Okay.
It's only one at any given time.
Samo ena možnost je, ne morata biti obe.
Right. Yeah, she's responding this way as an eater.
Odziva se kot nekdo, ki je.
Now, can she help it?
Ali lahko temu pomaga?
No.
Ne.
No. Is there anything to blame her for responding this way?
Ali jo lahko krivimo, ker se tako odziva?
No.
Ne, ne.
No. And if you're to interact with her,
In če bi se pogovarjali z njo,
it might be best
bi bilo verjetno najbolje,
for you to simply try to share in her misery,
da ste deležni njene bede,
do what you can to comfort her,
jo storite kar lahko, da bi jo tolažili
and to understand her in her sorrow,
in da bi jo razumeli v njenem trpljenju.
right? But there may come a time
Lahko pa pride nekoč čas,
when she's open enough
ko bo dovolj odprta,
that you can share the truth with her
da bi lahko z njo podelili resnico,
that can set her free.
ki bi jo lahko osvobodila.
And what's the truth?
In kaj je resnica?
Well, if she's a feeder,
Če je ona tista, ki hrani,
then she has God as her source,
potem ima Boga kot svoj vir.
and he can never die.
In on ne more umreti.
And he will never leave her.
In nikoli je ne bo zapustil.
And he always has everything that she needs.
In vedno ima vse, kar ona potrebuje.
And she can always come to him and be full.
Vedno lahko pride k njemu in se napolni.
And yes, she had a special relationship where she was giving what she took from God to her husband.
Seveda je imela prej poseben odnos, ker je imala tisto, kar je imela od Boga je imala in dajala naprej.
And God blessed them with a child through that.
In Bog jo je blagoslovil z otrokom.
And God used that husband as a channel
In Bog je tega moža uporabil kot
for a
kanal
while.
za nekaj časa.
But when the channel died,
Ampak ko je ta kanal umrl,
God did not die.
Bog ni umrl.
Her source is still there.
Njen vir je še vedno tam.
He still has everything that she needs.
Še vedno ima vse, kar potrebuje.
She can still come and take from him.
Še vedno lahko pride in jemlje od njega.
And she can still be full.
In še vedno je lahko izpolnjena.
And yes, this chapter of her life is over.
Seveda, to poglavje se je zaključilo v njenem življenju.
But instead of looking at it as a loss,
Ampak namesto, da bi to gledala kot na izgubo,
she sees how it was a gain.
lahko to vidi kot nekaj, kar je pridobila.
How was it a gain?
Kako?
Well, when you're born,
Ko se rodite,
you have nothing.
nič nimate.
And when you die,
Ko umrete,
you're not taking anything with
nič ne
you.
jemljete s seboj.
If you begin with 0 and you end with 0,
Če začnete z nič in končate z nič,
how much can you lose?
koliko lahko izgubite? Nič.
Nothing. If you begin with nothing and you end with nothing, you have nothing to lose.
Če začnete z nič in končate z nič, nič ne morete izgubiti.
I'm going to draw here. Woohoo. So, if the beginning of my life,
To je začetek mojega življenja,
sorry, I didn't have a beginning before the beginning, and the end of my life,
konec življenja,
right? Then if I begin with nothing,
in če začnem z nič,
all right, so I begin with 0,
začnem z nič,
I end with 0,
končam z nič,
but there's all of this in between.
ampak vse to je vmes.
So when I was born,
Ko sem se rodil,
well, there's parents,
so starši,
but when I die,
ko pa sem umrl,
I'm not going to have parents.
ne bom več imel staršev.
I didn't have a spouse when I was born,
Nisem še imel soproge, ko sem se rodil,
and I can't take her with me when I die,
in ne morem jo vzeti s seboj, ko bom umrl.
right? I have children,
Imam otroke,
but I couldn't take them with me,
ampak ne morem jih s sabo vzeti.
right? I may have a car,
Morda imam avto,
and then it gets in an accident,
potem je nesreča,
and I don't have the car
ni
anymore.
več avta.
I may have the car, I mean the house,
Lahko pa hišo.
and then at some time we might sell the house or it burns down,
Morda zgori ali pa jo prodamo.
right? I have a career,
Imam kariero,
but the career has a beginning and an end.
ampak kariera ima začetek in konec.
I have strength
Imam moč,
that comes, and then strength goes,
ki pride in gre.
right? And I have wisdom,
Imam tudi modrost,
and the wisdom goes,
tudi to gre.
right? So all of those are my stewardship.
To vse je moje oskrbništvo, vse to je začasno.
If it began with nothing,
Če se je začelo z nič
right? And it ends with nothing,
in se je končalo z nič,
then all of this
potem je vse to vmes.
is a gain.
Gain.
It's a gain.
Dobitek.
Ja.
A ja, igra.
Dobiček.
Game or gain?
Gain.
Gain. Dobiček.
Yes, it's a gain, right?
Dobiček.
It's all a gain, right? Yeah, she might have had the husband
Ja, morda je imela moža
for 5 years
za 5 let,
before he died.
preden je umrl.
And she looks at it as her life is a loss.
In ona to gleda kot na svoje življenje kot izguba.
But she doesn't look at it from the standpoint
Ne gleda pa iz vidika,
that she had the blessing and the gain of having the husband for 5 years.
da to vidi kot blagoslov in dobiček, da je imela moža za 5 let.
And if it wasn't for the gain and the blessing of 5 years,
In če ne bi bilo tega dobička in blagoslova 5 let,
she wouldn't have the child,
ne bi imela otroka.
right? So when we see it from the correct perspective,
Ko to vidimo skozi pravo perspektivo
and we realize we can never lose anything,
in se zavedamo, da ničesar ne moremo izgubiti.
and that anything that we have, even though it's for a time,
In vse, kar imamo, čeprav je samo za določen čas,
it's a gain.
je dobiček.
What is life like when you can't lose anything?
Kakšno je torej življenje, ko nič ne morete izgubiti?
And all you can do is gain,
In vse, kar imate, lahko dobite.
right? It's beautiful,
Čudovito.
right? It brings a certain confidence,
Da nam neko določeno samozavest.
right? And
Sigurno.
Job recognized that in his own life
In Job je to tudi prepoznal v svojem življenju,
because in one day
ker v enem dnevu
he lost all of his children,
je izgubil vse otroke,
all 10,
10 otrok.
right? He lost all of his possessions
Izgubil je vse premoženje.
and 4 different disasters.
In 4 različne katastrofe so se zgodile.
And he said, naked I came into this world,
In on je rekel, gol sem prišel
naked I will return.
in gol se bom vrnil.
The Lord has given,
Bog je dal
the Lord has taken away.
in Bog je vzel.
Blessed be the name of the Lord.
Blagoslovljeno bodi ime Gospodovo.
I didn't have anything when I was born.
Nič nisem imel, ko sem se rodil.
I can't take anything with me when I die.
Nič ne bom vzel s seboj, ko umrem.
I had things.
Imel sem reči,
because God gave them to me
ker mi jih je Bog zaupal
for a time.
za nekaj časa.
And just as it was right for God to give it to me in the first place,
In tako kot je bilo pravilno z Bogom, da mi jih je dal na začetku,
it's right for God to say when the stewardship comes to an end.
je tudi, ima Bog pravico, ko on odloči, da to oskrbništvo do tega pride do konca.
Praise God for the time that He gave.
Hvala Bogu za ta čas, ko nam je dal.
Now, how do I know that this kind of mourning is wrong?
Kako vem, da je tako žalovanje v bistvu napačno?
Not that we assign guilt to anybody for it,
Ne, da bi zdaj nekoga krivili za to,
but that it's according to error.
ampak zaradi tega, ker je to pač sloni na napaki.
One way that I know
En način, da to vem, je,
is because frequently after this,
dostikrat pogosto je po teh takih rečeh
somebody gets disease.
nekdo zboli.
And I know disease does not come from truth.
In vemo, da bolezen ne pride od resnice.
Disease comes from error,
Bolezen pride od zmote.
right? And so the disease that comes in her body,
Torej bolezen, ki lahko pride v njeno
or
telo,
the sicknesses that come,
ali bolezni, ki nastopijo,
are the objective evidence
so objektivni dokaz,
that the thought process that she thought was okay
da miselni vzorci, za katere mislila, da so dobri v njenih mislih,
was actually according to error, not truth,
so v bistvu zmota in ne na podlagi resnice.
right? And the truth is
Resnica pa je,
that, as the Bible says,
kakor piše v Bibliji,
we should in all things give thanks.
v vseh rečeh naj bi se zahvaljevali.
And when your response is thanks or gratitude for what God has given,
In ko ste vi hvaležni, s takim odnosom pristopate k Bogu, da ste hvaležni za vse, kar je Bog dal,
it doesn't result in disease in the body.
to ne rezultira v vašem telesu v bolezni.
So if the house burns down,
Torej, če hiša zgori,
I wasn't my house,
se ni moja hiša,
it was God's house.
Božja hiša je bila.
He allowed me to be able to live in it for a while.
Dovolil je, da sem živel v njej nekaj časa,
That time's over,
to je zdaj mimo,
but God is still my shelter,
ampak Bog je še vedno moje zavetišče.
and He will care for my needs.
Poskrbel bo za moje
I
potrebe.
might not know how,
Morda še zdaj ne vem kako,
but I can trust that He will,
lahko pa zaupam, da bo.
right? And I thank Him for what He had given as long as He had given it.
In hvaležen sem mu za to, kar mi je dal, za toliko dolgo, kolikor je bilo.
And if the spouse leaves,
In če soprog nas zapusti,
right, you praise God for the years that He gave you together,
si hvaležen Bogu za to, za leta, ko sta bila skupaj,
for the opportunities of taking and giving,
za priložnosti jemanja in dejanja,
right? The ability for you to be faithful and generous in the marriage,
priložnost za vas, da ste lahko bili radodarni v zakonu,
regardless of how the spouse behaved.
ne glede na to, kako se je soprog obnašal.
And if there's an injury
In če pride do poškodbe,
and now there's paralysis,
recimo paraliza,
well, that's God's body.
to je Božje telo,
That's God's problem.
njegov problem.
It was God's capacities anyways.
Itak je šlo za njegove sposobnosti.
And He still has me alive.
Še vedno sem živ.
And so He still has a purpose for my life.
Še vedno ima namen za moje življenje.
And so I get to look to Him and go, okay, God, with the capacities that I still have,
Zato lahko še vedno se ozrem k Bogu in rečem, ok, s sposobnostmi, ki jih še imam,
what do you want me to do now?
kaj želiš, da storim sedaj?
Right? And you still have purpose,
In še vedno imate namen
right? And there's reason to live.
in razlog za življenje.
And your mother dies,
Morda umre mama,
well, you no longer can share God's love with her.
ne morete več deliti Božje ljubezni z njo.
That chapter of your life is ended.
To poglavje življenja se je zaključilo.
But you're grateful for the opportunities that God gave,
Hvaležni pa ste za priložnosti, ki jih je Bog dal.
and you know that there are others that you can give to as well.
Veste pa, da so tudi drugi ljudje, katerim lahko dajete.
Right? Oh, it changes our perspective.
To res spremeni našo perspektivo.
Right? When I am a child of God,
Ko sem Božji otrok,
then it's not my problem.
potem to ni moj problem.
It's God's
To
problem.
je Božji problem.
He's the one that has to fix it.
On mora to popraviti.
I just get to cooperate with Him while He's fixing it.
Jaz samo kooperiram z njim, ko on to popravlja.
And yeah, there's all these things around me.
Ja, seveda so vse te reči okoli mene.
There's space and time and circumstances,
Prostor, čas, okoliščine.
right? There's information and people and money and so on.
Informacije, ljudje, denar in podobno.
right? And all of these are kind of like fires that are threatening to burn me.
To so nekakšni ognji, ki moram se paziti, da me ne bojo vžgal.
And in my fallen condition,
In v mojem padlem stanju
I'm always trying to control these things to keep myself from getting burned.
jih poskušam nadzirati, da se ne bi upekel.
But how much of it can I control?
Ampak koliko od tega lahko jaz dejansko kontroliram?
None of it.
Nič.
So if I have to control that in order to fix the problem,
Če bi moral jaz to vse nadzirati, zato da bi odpravil problem,
I can never fix the problem.
nikoli ne morem popraviti tega
Right?
problema.
Ah.
Ojej.
So, yes. So Jesus or God surrounds me with his presence,
Torej, Jezus oziroma Bog me obdaja s svojo prisotnostjo.
right? And what he does is he filters what can get to me.
On v bistvu filtrira, kaj sploh ima dostop do mene.
Whatever's out there
Karkoli je tam zunaj.
gets to him first,
Prvo gre do njega
and it only gets through him if he gives permission.
in gre skozi njega samo, če on to dovoli.
And this is we'll read this.
Očetova prisotnost je obdajala Kristusa. Doletelo ga ni nič razen tistega, kar je neskončna ljubezen dovolila. Za knjiga je namenjena, svetopismo je namenjeno za osebno uporabo, blagoslov sveta. Tukaj je bil vir tolažbe zanj in je tudi za nas. Kdor je prežet s Svetim Duhom, živi v Kristusu. Njemu namenjen udarec za danes veličaja, saj ga obdaja njegova navzočnost. Karkoli pride nanj, je od Kristusa. Ne čuti potrebe, da bi se upiral zlu, ker je njegova obramba Kristus. Nič ga ne more doleteti, če tega ne dovoli naš Gospod. In vemo, da tisti, ki Boga ljubijo, njim vse pripomore k dobremu. Ne?
All right, so it's really helpful
Torej, nam zelo pomaga,
to understand this.
da razumemo to.
God is infinitely powerful,
Bog je neskončno močen.
and he's like an infinite force field
Je kot neskončen zaščit,
that surrounds me,
ki me obdaja.
and nothing can get through him to me,
In nič ne more preko njega priti do mene,
right? Except he says okay.
razen če on to odobri.
And the only things that he says okay to
In edine reči, ki jih on odobri,
are the things that will work out for my good.
so stvari, ki bodo zame delovale kot dobro.
And you see, I have a problem inside of me,
Torej imam težavo v sebi, recimo,
and that problem inside of me
ta težava v meni,
is the delusion.
je ta utvara.
It's like a piece of metal that is misformed and impure.
Kos kovine, ki je ni prave oblike in je nečista kovina.
And by all means, that problem needs to be fixed.
In vsekakor ta problem je treba odpraviti.
And here I am,
In tukaj sem jaz,
trying to keep all of these things out,
kjer poskušam vse te stvari držati ven iz sebe,
when the only way that the metal can be melted,
ko pa je edini način, da bi se ta kovina stopila,
purified,
prečistila
and formed right,
in oblikovala v pravo obliko,
is if the heat gets in.
če ta ogenj pride v mene.
My measure of success is comfort.
Moje merilo uspeha je v bistvu udobje.
So I try to control everything so I can be comfortable.
Zato vse poskušam nadzirati, zato da bi bil da bi bilo udobno.
And God's measure of success is purity.
Božje merilo uspeha pa je čistost.
And so he must allow the discomfort that I hate
Zato mora dovoliti neudobje, ki ga sovražim,
for the purpose that I might be purified,
za namen, da bi se očistil,
so that the problem inside can be fixed.
da bi ta problem, ki je v meni, bil popravljen.
And yes, the devil,
In seveda, ja, hudič,
he's the one that lights the fires,
on je ta, ki prižge te ognje.
and he's the one that turns them up,
On je tisti, ki jih še spodkuri še bolj.
and he does it for the purpose of destroying us.
Seveda z namenom, da bi nas uničil.
And so yes, it is evil out here for sure.
Ja, sigurno, to je zlo, ki je zunaj nas.
But God filters it
Ampak Bog to filtrira,
so that not too much
da ne bi bilo preveč.
and also not too little
In seveda tudi ne premalo
gets through.
pride skozi.
So that instead of me being destroyed,
Tako da namesto, da bi jaz bil uničen,
I'm purified.
sem očiščen.
But if too little heat gets through,
Ampak če pride premalo vročine skozi,
you can't be purified.
ne morete biti očiščeni.
And so, yes, there is a painful process,
Ja, seveda je boleč proces,
but it's always measured.
ampak vedno je to odmerjeno.
And it's always measured with your best interest in mind.
In vedno je odmerjeno z vašimi najboljšimi interesi. Ja.
Right? But the devil out here,
Hudič tu zunaj pa,
oh, he's measuring too,
on tudi meri, ja?
but he's measuring for destruction.
Ampak on meri to za uničenje.
Right? So when you look around you, you go, oh, it's really evil.
Torej, če se bi ozrli okoli sebe, bi rekli, samo zlo.
And it is.
In res je,
Very real, it is.
res je, resnično je.
But because of this,
Ampak zaradi tega,
every evil that gets to you
vsako zlo, ki pride do vas,
can only do so for the sake of good.
lahko to samo z namenom, da bi storilo dobro.
Right? And when you know that,
In ko to veste, je to olajšanje.
there is so much comfort.
To lažba tudi.
You don't have to live in fear.
Ne rabite živeti v strahu.
And if I'm a child of God,
In če sem jaz Božji otrok,
then God is the judge, not me.
potem je Bog sodnik in ne jaz.
And He's the advocate.
In on je tisti zagovornik.
He came to live our lives.
On je živel naše življenje.
He came to understand our temptations.
Prišel je in razumel naše skušnjave.
He came to understand our weaknesses
Da bi razumel tudi naše šibkosti.
so that He could be our understanding defense attorney.
Da je on z tem razumevanjem lahko tudi naš odvetnik.
As the judge, God is not against us.
Kot sodnik, on ni proti nam.
He is for us.
On je za nas.
It's for His children,
Torej za svoje otroke.
right? And His love is infinite.
In Božja ljubezen je neskončna.
He knows everything my life ever was and will be.
On ve vse, kar je bilo in bo v mojem življenju.
And when He hung on the cross, He paid for every sin I would ever commit, every time I would ever commit it.
In ko je visel na križu, je plačal za vsak greh, ki sem ga kdajkoli storil in za vsak greh, ki ga bom še storil.
And when what's inside of me comes spilling out,
In tisto, kar je v meni, se izliva iz mene.
it might be a surprise to me,
Morda je presenečenje za mene,
but it's not to God.
ampak ne Bogu.
And it's not something that He's like,
In to ni nekaj, kar bi Boga prestrašilo ali razočaralo,
I don't know what to do now.
da ne bi potem vedel, kaj storiti Bog. Ne?
Or, oh, I forgot to pay for that on the cross.
Ali pa, da bi rekel pol, zato sem pa pozabil plačati na
Or
križu.
that's too big for me to fix.
Ali pa to je pretežko, da bi jaz lahko popravil.
No, never.
Ne, nikoli.
He knew it was there.
On je vedel, da je to obstajalo.
And in fact, He needed it to come out
In seveda, on je želel, da se to pokaže, da pride ven,
so that I could see what was in there.
da bi lahko jaz prepoznal, da vidim, kaj je v meni.
Otherwise, I wouldn't know.
Drugače tega ne bi vedel.
I wouldn't be able to cooperate with Him.
Ne bi bil sposoben z njim sodelovati.
And it would continue to be a problem
In tako bi ta problem še vedno
that
obstajal,
causes me to destroy myself.
ki povzroča, da uničujem sam sebe.
So, for the sake of me, of Him trying to save me from destroying myself,
Torej, za voljo tega, da jaz ne bi uničil sam sebe,
He must let that heat in.
mora dovoliti, da ta vročina pride do mene,
Right.
v mene.
And, okay, now I get to go to God,
Sedaj pridem k Bogu takšen,
come to the cross,
do križa,
accept the exchange of my life for the life of Christ.
sprejmem zamenjavo Kristusovega življenja za mojega.
Right? Now I have the righteousness of Christ,
Sedaj sem oblečen v Kristusovo
right? His
pravičnost,
goodness,
njegovo
His
dobro,
nature,
njegovo naravo,
His power,
njegovo moč,
right? His choices,
njegove izbire,
His freedom.
svobodo.
Now I can live by it.
Sedaj lahko potem uživim.
Right. And when it comes to forgiveness,
In ko pride do odpuščanja,
in forgiveness, I understand that I'm not God,
v odpuščanju moram razumeti, da jaz nisem Bog
and what you did was really against God, not against me.
in da tisti, ki je nekaj storil, resnično storil proti Bogu in ne proti meni.
And I came to the cross and I accepted the life of Christ in behalf of mine.
In ko sem prišel jaz do križa, sem sprejel Jezusovo življenje namesto mojega.
You didn't do it to me,
Tega nisi storil meni,
you did it to Him.
to si storil njemu.
I don't have anything against you.
Nimam nič proti tebi.
You don't owe me anything,
Nič mi nisi dolžen.
right? Your debt is with God,
Tvoj dolg je pri Bogu.
right? And the same God who set me free
In isti Bog, ki je osvobodil mene,
is the same one that wants to set you free.
je isti Bog, ki je vas
And if
osvobodil.
there's anything
Želi
that
vas osvoboditi.
I can do to cooperate with Him
In če je karkoli, da me Bog rabi, da bi lahko sodeloval z njim,
in helping you to be free,
da bi vam pomagal, da vas osvobodi,
I'm happy to do so.
sem srečen pri tem delu.
This is the true foundation of forgiveness.
To je pravi temelj odpuščanja.
This is the solution for resentment and bitterness.
To je rešitev za prezir in grenkobo.
And this is found only at the cross.
In to najdemo samo pri križu.
Right? And this is the only kind of forgiveness that results in healing in the body.
In to je edino odpuščanje, ki tudi povzroča zdravljenje telesa.
And how do I know the bitterness is resolved?
Kako vem, da je grenkoba rešena?
I still remember what happened,
Da se še vedno spominjam, kaj se je zgodilo.
but there's no more pain with the memory.
Ampak ni več bolečine povezane s tem spominom.
Because the memory is not just associated with the trauma,
Ker spomin ni povezan samo z travmo,
the memory is now associated with his love in setting me free,
ampak je sedaj povezan z njegovo ljubeznijo, ki me je osvobodila.
right? And it takes a different perspective.
Torej, to dobi novo perspektivo.
So,
Torej,
this is what God wants for each of us.
to si Bog želi za vsakega izmed nas.
And all of this
In vse te reči
comes as a result
pridejo kot neka posledica, rezultat
of this identity,
te identitete.
right? He wants us to be his children
Želi, da smo njegovi otroci
and to know that we are.
in da vemo, da smo.
And when we take that as our own identity,
In ko to sprejmemo kot svojo identiteto.
it's beautiful.
Čudovito.
And there's so much freedom that comes with
In
it.
toliko svobode je v tem.
Thank you.
Hvala lepa za poslušanje.